You got to wait for a gapper.
That is fair down the right field line. Giambi on his way to third. And they're going to wave him around. The throw misses a cutoff man. Shot into the plate. Out of the plate. Derek Jeter with one of the most unbelievable plays you will ever see by a shortstop.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Here we are on a Thursday, and welcome to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We come your way each and every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern until high noon. You can find us on YouTube at Chatterbox Sports. We ask you to please subscribe to the show, flip on the notification switch. And I'm told by Paul Fritzner, who's got all the bases covered, we are now on something called Reddit, under the subreddit Chatterbox Sports. Before we get to the day and or last night in sports, could you please explain what that means to me? Reddit, what is Reddit?
Reddit is basically an internet forum where you can talk about anything and everything. It's kind of a wild place. It's like the Wild West of the internet, but it's a place where you can kind of congregate everything that you're talking about in one spot. It's a little different than Twitter. But it's just a spot that I think that if we grow this page on Chatterbox Sports the right way, it could be a home for just anything Cincinnati sports too, or this show, or topics that we talk about, things that the people listening to this show want to talk about. So just under the subreddit Chatterbox Sports, you can go and join and be a part of the community. We started posting a little bit on there.
Casey, are you a Reddit guy? Whatever that means.
A Reddit guy. I'm not a Reddit guy, honestly, but I will be now. Just to see what we're posting in there, just to see what we're talking about.
So is this like is this like a YouTube? Is it like Twitter, or, help me here.
It's more like Twitter. It's more like Twitter than anything else.
It's a discussion forum.
It's a discussion
It
forum.
is, okay.
Yep.
Big Art. First time I've seen Big Art in the chat room. Big Art, welcome. Glad to have you. Have you seen him before?
Have not.
Okay, Big Art. He says, I love that Thom has no idea what Reddit is.
Well, we're educating you, Thom.
Our buddy Sir Boy Wonder says, this show greater than the Dan Patrick Show. Well, we got a long way to go. And 6412 Mars says, I'm not savvy on Reddit either. Okay. So 6412 Mars, welcome back. Everybody, welcome back. We're also available in podcast form. That seems to be the most popular place to find our show so far. Is that right, Paul?
Yeah, I would say outside of YouTube, this show has been popping all over the place on podcast form. All the Chatterbox shows are in podcast form under the same channel, basically. If you just search Chatterbox Sports or Off the Bench, anything like that. Yep.
Now, for a programming note today, we're mixing it up. Content is king, as the saying goes, right?
Yep.
So your show, Not Too Picky, which normally runs at 2 in the afternoon on Monday and Thursday.
Yep.
Today, your show is going to immediately follow this show, and then Boxed Lunch is coming up after that. Is that right?
Only on Fridays.
Only on Friday. Okay.
Yep. So Box Lunch will be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. My show, The Gambling Show, which will run about a half hour on Mondays and Thursdays. Mondays it'll be at 1 o'clock following the Box Lunch, so we'll go straight from you to the Box Lunch.
So that's going to be our regular programming schedule.
Exactly.
Once we get everything kind of up and running.
So basically the way this is going to work is you're going to tune into this live stream that you all are watching right now. If you're listening on podcast form, we're going to dice it all up individually. But if you're watching it right now on YouTube, this is basically going to turn into a day-long Chatterbox Sports live stream, starting with your show and then transitioning into whatever's next.
The Real Spirit Cat won. And again, another member of the chat, which I've not seen before. Forgive me if I've missed you. The Real Spirit Cat won. He or she says, if you think of the human body, Twitter would be the left armpit, and Reddit would be the right armpit.
I think that's a pretty apt way to put it.
Yeah, that's appropriate.
That's a pretty good way to put it.
Okay. All right. Well, World Series. Wow. If you watched Game 4 last night in Philadelphia, you saw postseason history. Christian Javier. What an amazing story this guy is. He's from the Dominican Republic. His mom and dad flew in to Philadelphia for the game last night, spent time with him the night before. They knew after Houston had lost that this was going to be the biggest start of his life. And what does he do? Javier and 3 relievers toss the first combined no-hitter in postseason history in a 5-0 Astros win. If you watched Javier last night, this guy was unbelievable. His pitches piled up, so they had to get him out of the game. He goes 6, strikes out 9, walks 2. He becomes the first pitcher ever. Think about all the pitchers, the great ones that have pitched in the postseason. He becomes the first pitcher ever with 2 consecutive starts, the other going back to the LCS, of going at least 5 innings and allowing 1 hit or no hits. The series is now even at 2 games apiece. Game 5 tonight in Philly. And this is where legends are born. Justin Verlander has one of the worst career ERAs of any guy that's going to the Hall of Fame or is in the Hall of Fame in World Series history. He's not been there, and he wasn't there when they gave him a 5-0 lead in Game 1. He has a chance to make amends tonight. Verlander v. Noah Syndergaard in Game 5 tonight. All right, football news. Bengals, they had a walkthrough yesterday since they played on Monday night, and they're back at full go today, getting ready for Sunday's game against Carolina. Apparently, Jamar Chase was seen walking with crutches yesterday, the aid of crutches yesterday. Eli Apple looks like he's back this week, and, you know, some weeks you might say big deal. For this week, it's a really big deal with all the injuries that took place in the secondary on Monday night. Sunday is a home game, a 1 o'clock kickoff. Bengals are a 7.5-point favorite. At least that was at last check. Thursday night football tonight in Houston. Philadelphia looks to stay unbeaten against the Texans. The Eagles are a 14-point favorite. Elsewhere in the AFC North, and we're talking all about this, by the way, on Thursday. Forgive me for interrupting here, because I'm out tomorrow. I'm on my way to visit my daughter down in Texas at college, and no show tomorrow. Did we ever figure out, by the way, what we're doing tomorrow?
Yes, the box lunch will run tomorrow during your time slot.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So Trace and Reed will be here for that. You two will be here for that.
Yep, and then we'll be down at X and Moeller for the playoff game straight from that. Yep.
Big-time game.
Yep.
Big-time game. X gave Moeller all they wanted during the regular season. I mean, St. X got kicked around. They play an unbelievable schedule. Moeller did not lose all year long until the end of the season. That was against a team up in Cleveland that's ranked ahead of them in the state rankings. But now Moeller v. St. X, round 2 right here on Chatterbox Sports. We got it all covered for you. The Browns and Steelers have the week off. The Ravens will play on Monday night in New Orleans, Baltimore. Kind of interesting. Only a 2.5-point favorite. We'll get into that here shortly. We're doing all our picks, as I mentioned today. College, huge weekend. Huge weekend in college football. A pair of first-place matchups in the Southeastern Conference. In the East, you've got number 1 Tennessee going to number 3 and defending national champion Georgia. The Volunteers, despite being ranked number 1, are an 8.5-point underdog in that game. Kickoff at 3:30 on CBS. On the Western Front of the SEC, number 10 LSU, they've come from nowhere, will host number 6 Alabama. The Crimson Tide, a whopping 13.5-point favorite over Brian Kelly's Tigers. That's a night game. I've never been there, but I'm told There is nothing like a night game in Baton Rouge. That place will be insane come 7 p. on Saturday night. Love to be down there for that game. Number 2, Ohio State, a 38-point favorite at Northwestern. That one will kick at noon on ABC. Also at 12, over on Fox, it's unbeaten and number 7 TCU hosting Texas Tech. I'll be right there. That's 11 a.m. kick in Fort Worth, Texas. The Horned Frogs are a 9.5-point favorite, and the whole Fox pregame show is going to be down there for that one. I can't wait to see that scene. It's not a very big school. It's about the size, what's Xavier's undergrad? 10, 11,000?
No, only 4.
4?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. TCU's a little bigger than that then, about 10, 11.
Yeah.
So, but that place will be jumping. Number 4, an undefeated Clemson. Now, this is a really interesting game. The Tigers will go to Notre Dame. The Tigers, a 3.5-point favorite. That is a 7:30 kickoff. My wife, who is a Notre Dame alum, is meeting her father, flying in from Arizona. And Polly and our son Luke are headed to South Bend, Indiana. That game will be on NBC. UC, a 19.5-point favorite at home against the Naval Academy, and I'll only refer to them as a Naval Academy. We always salute the men and women in the armed services of the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. That game starts at 4 o'clock, and boy, how times have changed for UC. They are playing on ESPNU. Yikes.
Yeah.
They haven't played on ESPNU in probably, 2 years? Nothing's wrong with ESPNU, but, I mean, it's not ABC. It's not, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so, fellas, you're up to speed on everything happening, all the big stuff in college football, pro football. We'll get to our picks in about 15 minutes from now. We have Paul Doherty coming up. That'll be at 11 o'clock. We've not had Doc on since the Monday night game. So we'll get his thoughts on that game and what went down in Cleveland. And his thoughts in general on, what's going on with the Bengals. What now? He wrote a very interesting column. The Morning Line is back on Substack.com. And we will dive into him writing the other day about being cynical and where cynicism comes from. And it's important, according to Doc, to have a cynical streak when you are a local sports columnist, as he was at the Enquirer for 35 years. And then, of course, you never know what's coming. We call it the best 30 minutes of television. I mean, you can't go to Amazon. You can't go to Netflix. You can't go to something called Hulu. You can't go anywhere that's any better than our guy, Casey, the Tracer.
The Tracer.
Tracer. He's down at his palatial estate. He was unhappy, if you weren't with us, with the accommodations at his alleged 6-star resort in Cancun about 3 weeks ago. And apparently he's rented this big house. He's got family coming in. Says his wife is in charge of all of this stuff and that she is not holding up her end of the bargain. All right, fellas. I gave you a little tip-off here, and I need your help as young men. I don't know if I would refer to you as drip young men. I love that word, drip. My son uses it a lot. We've used it a little bit in here. But I need your advice, okay?
Sure.
I need your advice on my attire for this weekend at TCU.
All right.
Okay, so here's the deal. Let me start with this, and then you fill me in.
Okay.
Because this, to me, for me, is the one I wrestle with the most. Okay? So the weather down in Fort Worth, it's supposed to rain tomorrow, but, we're going to this function. It's Dad's weekend down there, and we're going to go to this function at this rooftop bar. So, you throw on a pair of khakis. You wear a shirt maybe kind of like I have on now, or a golf shirt. Temperature's going to be nice, but it might be raining. But Saturday is what I'm looking for here, okay? My daughter and I went out last year, and she said to me, Dad, you need to get – I normally wear running shoes every day, right? I'm a runner. Not a big runner, but I'm a runner. I like doing it for exercise. She says, Dad, you need to get some of these white shoes, white tennis shoes that all the young people are kind of wearing and that some drip dads show up wearing every now and again, okay? I put them on last year. I went to the football game in them, and I really was not that comfortable in these tennis shoes. I mean, they're nice. You know, they look good. Had a pair of shorts on, you know.
What kind of shoes?
Golf shirt. They're something that's the hip crowd.
Okay.
Right?
Not Air Monarchs?
I don't know. What do they look like? Can you pull them up and put them on the screen? I'd be able to tell
Are they
you
like
that.
athletic brand? Are they like your Converse brand?
No, not a Converse brand. They're I don't know if they're leather or not, but I mean, you know what I'm getting at here?
Sure.
You know? So, I mean, is that what you're talking about?
No, I was
not
talking
leather, but I mean, leather's a wrong word choice. But anyway, pull those things up and let me see. Here is the question I'm asking, okay? When you're a 59-year-old man, okay, and I'm very comfortable, probably shouldn't be, but I'm very comfortable knowing the weather is going to be on Saturday. Now, it's an 11 o'clock game, as I mentioned. And so it's got a chance to be a little chilly in the morning. But once a game gets started, temperatures are supposed to get up in the 70s. So I'm totally cool wearing a pair of shorts, you know, nice khaki shorts, something like that, and then a TCU golf shirt, right?
You want to throw these bad boys on, Tom?
Well, let's see. Let me see.
Those bad boys? There we
Throw them
are.
on when you get a chance.
There, look at that. Look at that right there.
Well,
You'd be all tripped out wearing
those
those.
are much more athletic looking than the ones I'm talking about.
Okay.
Those look like you could go out and run in them.
Yeah.
Yeah, these shoes that I'm talking about are not go out and run in them.
Cut some grass. These
Yeah,
are air. These,
not a chance.
these are Air Monarchs for anybody that isn't looking.
Yeah,
right
I'm
Well, it's
now.
about to
not
put
on
it
the
on
screen,
stream.
right?
I'm going to put it on stream here
All
in
right.
a second.
Okay, you got to find something else. Look, I don't want to sit here and talk about me the whole time because people are dropping off the chat in sight. Let's see here. Sir Boy Wonder brings up the point that comes to mind because the one thing about Fort Worth, even though it's only about 35, 40-minute drive from Dallas, Fort Worth is old school Texas. The stockyards down there, you know, you got the cowboy boot shops, you got the hats, you got all that going on, right? So that's fine, and I love that whole thing, but I'm not wearing that to a college football game. I'm not wearing jeans and a pair of cowboy boots when it's going to be 70-something degrees, okay?
Yeah. You got a belt buckle?
I have a great belt for that kind of attire. I really do.
All right,
Yes,
well-
a buddy of mine gave me his. He was getting fat, and so he gave him to me. And now I'm getting fat and probably have to give it to one of you guys. So, you know, Sir Boy Wonder says, I need the cowboy boots and a hat. That's not happening. What are Yeezys? That might be it. What are Yeezys? What are those? Do we have those? It's not those. You just put up.
I can
All right,
put
look,
up
I don't want to
Yeezys.
spend all this time on here talking about this, but you get the gist of what I'm saying here, okay? Instead of me just putting on like regular running shoes, kind of like what you put up, kind of, not really. Or, you know, a 59-year-old man wearing, you know, something like you put up. What do you think? I mean, do you look like an idiot when you're doing that?
You
Or-
can't be wearing the Air Force Ones, Tom, or the Air Monarchs, which
That's
is what we
you
just
put
put
up
up.
a second ago.
Yeah. You're
You
cutting
can't-
grass in those, Tom. That's a
Okay,
nice.
well, I already
that's
said
a nice-
those aren't the shoes I'm talking about.
That's a nice
you can't
Saturday
be wearing-
morning. You've got your Dunkin' Donuts coffee. You're hopping on the riding lawnmower. Pop a podcast in.
I don't have a riding lawnmower. My yard's not that big, so I just cut it with a regular old push mower. But
You got what's the cowboy boot situation? You could pull it off. Throw
Yeah.
some jeans
I'm
on.
not, I'm not wearing that to a college football game.
I
I am the king of comfort. Wherever I go, I want to be comfortable. And I'm not, I mean, I love cowboy boots. I love them. But not to go to a college football game.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the night before.
No. The night, I'm not worried about the night.
Oh, king of comfort. The shoes we just put up, they're the most comfortable shoe on the
But
planet.
it's not those shoes. I would be comfortable in those shoes.
I know you would
I
be.
would be.
I'm just
But
wanting to
I
know
would
what
not
you
be. I'm
wore
not so
before.
sure I'm comfortable in the ones that I'm talking about.
Like, were they a canvas shoe?
No,
or
they're
like
not. They're
boat
definitely
shoe?
not. They're definitely not.
Sir Boy Wonder.
Trace Fowler, our CEO, the boss, he says, do whatever your daughter wants. That's all that matters. And you know what? He's right. Alex says, ask Marty to chime in. Not a chance. Not a chance.
Marty's got some drip.
He's got zero drip.
Pull over.
You know what? For an 80-year-old man, he probably does have some drip.
Yeah.
I might concede.
Those shoes he was wearing in the studio the other day.
Now, see, I wouldn't even notice that.
Marty had it going on.
Yeah, no socks, no doubt.
Yeah.
Like some slip-ons.
No
or something
socks
like
with
that.
the
Yeah,
slip-on.
He's a big league operator.
Yeah.
There's no question.
I'll say this.
There's no question.
Matt brings up a really good point with the Hey Dudes.
This actually would be my real suggestion.
What is this?
The Hey Dudes. They're like a really comfy
Yes.
brand.
Extremely comfy.
I'm going to put them on air.
Comfort is king with these, Tom. No free ads, but here
William says, Tom, I'm 61. He says, no, under any circumstances. No bright white shoes, man. Those are called old man shoes. I'm not talking about.
So those are
I'm
Hey
not
Dudes.
talking
Those are
about
good.
this kind of thing. Come on.
Those are
No,
comfy
no,
shoes.
those are
Those
good.
really
Oh, my
comfy.
God. There's no way. I look like William said. I mean, I look like one of those dudes that's eating dinner at 4 o'clock. Come on. I'm not wearing those. Good Lord.
we go. Early bird special.
Sir Boy Wonder says, I need a good chain that says Bobcats on it. Can't go wrong with Monarchs. Man up, Tom, says retired U.S. vet. We salute you. Says, man up. Nothing but Skechers for me. Those are in right now, Skechers.
You could throw a cowboy hat on at the game.
Yeah.
You could.
You could.
Well, I could. There's no doubt. Okay. All right, enough of this. Fellas, our Bengals report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions. You guys didn't help me at all, by the way. For a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing models to improve efficiency and productivity. Visit encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. You guys were zero help. None. N-U-N, none. Thoughts real quick, fellas, about the Bengals. They don't make a trade. They've got injuries in the secondary. We're going to get a look at both of the rookies that they drafted this year coming up in this game. Eli Apple looks like he's back. Casey, I know better to ask you because I know what the answer is going to be.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. With Carolina coming into town, you're assuming this is a tail kicking. Am I right or wrong? You're not. Oh, you've seen the light, Casey. You've seen the light.
I am a nervous fan if I'm the Bengals. If I'm any Bengals fan right now, this is a terrible matchup again. The defensive front for the Panthers, underrated. They have Brian Burns and Derek Brown on that defensive line. They have a really good run game. And they have DJ Moore. We're down our best corner. And P.J. Walker's been playing at least at a decent level. So
correct me if I'm wrong here real quick. This is one of those, based on your rankings, this is one of those matchups where you had both teams officially in the column of stink.
Correct.
Including your Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes. Yes, I do have the Bengals.
So this is one stink playing another stink.
Correct.
Okay. In all seriousness, last year much was made. The bye week is coming at the exact same time as it was a year ago. The Bengals last year were 5-2. They had that debacle against the Jets. They got massacred by the Browns. So they were 5-4 going into the break. We know the schedule last year is very different than the schedule this year. And I'm tired of using those two words, last year.
Me too.
But well, that's a surprise. Well, at 5-4, if the Bengals win on Sunday, at 5-4, knowing the Steelers are the game after that, and I know the Bengals lost to the Steelers the first time, but they're better than the Steelers. would you be okay? Would both of you guys be okay? Not great, but okay with 5-4. It beats the hell out of 4-5, but I mean, are you okay with 5-4 at the break?
I mean, you have to be okay with it. That's
a good point.
That's the only thing that you can do going into the bye week and still be in a position to make the playoffs. So, yeah, I guess we have to be okay with it, right? I mean,
yeah.
Any other, like, you can't tie. That's even worse.
Oh my God,
that would be miserable if they tied. Like I
tying against the Panthers would just be miserable.
Then the Bengals would really stink. But I mean, like, part of the reason why they stink is because they don't have any of their best players. Like, I think they would be at the top of stink at the current moment with all their starting players. But
are they able to get out of that last tier of your tier list if they win on Sunday?
No, I don't think so.
Even if they win 35-16?
It's going to be close.
A Falcons-type performance?
That would be very
They're still
close.
stuck in the cellar?
That would be very close. But
Borderline?
It would be very, very close to getting out of the stink. So they would be like number one stink or the very bottom of borderline stink.
Tom, we got to build our guy back up here.
No, hang on. This is just me being
you're
realistic.
right. This
is me being realistic.
This is troubling.
You and I got to do some work here, Tom.
Because, Casey, if you were certainly the one bright, shining light,
oh, that's not my job.
the man filled with hope, you were the guy in the studio.
Oh, well.
And now all of a sudden you're starting to do one of these with Paul, unless we're talking about Xavier basketball, with Paul and me. Although Trey says the Bengals will be fine, relax everybody. But you were the guy that we could count on to at least stand up for the home team. You don't appear to be that guy right now.
No, because they don't deserve that. They did when they played well for 2 weeks, and then after this week, I mean, you can't continue to have this streak against the Browns. You'll never win the big game if you continue to have these issues. I mean, yeah, we got to the big game. I'm not even going to talk about it anymore. I'm done with last year. It's this year. And this year, we're down our major stars. There's no return in sight. DJ Reader's supposed to maybe come back. They're going to reevaluate him after the bye week. And that's it. So we had Jamar Chase on crutches. We had
But that's not a surprise. I mean, if the guy's got a broken bone or a crack or something like that in his hip, I mean, you don't want to be walking around putting full weight on that. That's a natural kind of thing.
I agree. But there's just a lot of people are saying, don't overreact. We were in the same spot last year. Forget about last year. This is this year. And this is a clearly different team and a clearly different scenario that's happened. Last year, when we went 5-2, we didn't even get above, 2 games above 500? Like you said, we were at 5-2 last year, and we had just smacked the Ravens around. And then we go ahead and lose to the Jets and lose to the Browns. But those were games where you felt like, well, we had a chance. We were up against the Jets. Like, we had clearly were the better team against the Jets. We just had 2 unlucky breaks. We had a penalty late in that game. Turned the tide of that game. Browns game wasn't even close, just like this time. And you can't just you sit there and you feel like this is the Panthers. Like, if they don't go out there and beat them like they did against the Falcons or the Saints, then this team is just like in a lot of trouble. It just is. Okay. And there's nothing you can really do to really change my mind on that. I'm just down on them right now.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fair enough. It's just being honest. You know, I like the suggestion, and I can't remember who it was in our chat yesterday who made this point. And I think this is a great point. The Bengals should win against the Panthers. You go to the bye. You get some guys healthy, including Reader and some other guys. You beat the Steelers. Okay, primetime game on the road. We know how that looks, or has looked. But that was mainly the Marvin Lewis, Andy Dalton era. You know, You beat the Steelers, you go to 6-4. And the swing game, as it was pointed out by one of our viewers yesterday, the swing game in this whole thing is going to be the Tennessee Titans. And I got to tell you, I am really interested to see the Titans this week, after all you two guys did was bury Ryan Tannehill yesterday. I mean, bury the guy. The Titans this week play the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the best game in the league.
Correct.
5-2 against 5-2, right?
Yep.
All right. It's on the road at Kansas City, and we're going to pick that game in our pick. So we're going to take a timeout. We're going to reload, get everything ready for our college picks, our pro picks. But just to finish that thought, that Tennessee game could be the game that will make or break the Bengals' year. Because if they go to 7-4 and win that game, then all of a sudden you're looking at, after the Titans, you got the Chiefs coming here. You got the Brownies coming here. You go to Tampa Bay, who doesn't look so great. You go to New England. You got the Bills and Ravens, the last 2 games of the year on the home front.
Don't go to break yet. We have something for you here.
You do.
We have
what do you have?
Oh, well, we were trying to help you out, so I put in an order to Reed Mouse, and he delivered pretty quickly.
He always does.
He always
That's
does.
one thing you can count on with Reed Mouse. He delivers.
Throw it up there.
I just want you to consider.
See?
Consider it.
Look
at that.
You
look
know,
good.
The one thing Reed could have done, if you're going to do that, is put the thing on straight. I'm not one of these guys.
You're not.
Those
come
baseball
on. You're not
players
a
make
straight
me
shooter, are you?
crazy. Who have the hat off to the side, and I mean, it stuff makes me nuts when I see guys that do that stuff. And you certainly can't do that with a cowboy hat.
No.
I mean, that is right on the borderline sacrilegious down in Texas. Putting on a cowboy hat and tilting it to the side. That's not good. And Reed, that is really lame. I just talked you up. And that is really lame. My mother-in-law sent me a picture of what I wore last year when I wore the white shoes.
Oh.
So I'm going to send that to you guys.
All right, we'll get it up there.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll get
so
it
I'm
up.
going to send that to you guys. Martha, thank you very much. I'm going to send this picture to you guys, and we'll look at it, and you'll get an idea.
We'll
what
get
I'm
it up
talking
there out of the break.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We're back in a moment.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time. And if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
FS what?
FSB. It's short for fatal sperm backup.
Oh, my God.
Thom, see, the married men know what I'm talking about. I didn't have this until I got married, but I've got the affliction a little bit at times. And Thom, do you ever suffer now that you don't have that job with Fox and you're not bringing home the big checks? Do you have FSB?
You know what? I get it. I totally get what you're saying.
There's a lot of truth to that.
I can't believe I'm admitting this on a show we're just starting. That we're talking about the acronym of FSB.
What is
that
it?
what you said?
Say it, Thom.
FSB.
No, not the acronym. Say the whole thing. The three words.
Sperm backup. Is that right?
There we go.
Okay.
Hey, Thom, we've experienced it since we got married, but ask those two guys, the producers. Now, they've experienced that their whole life, so they really don't see any adjustment. They've experienced it. They've had it their own life.
Well, I thought you were making the argument that this only hits married men. I thought that's what you were saying. These guys aren't married.
Well, I know, but they're not getting any. So they have FSB.
If I'm giving you some advice, I would stay away from gritties. I would just keep it to a simple 2-step. And I think baby steps.
Whoa. What? You would stay away from gritties? Why? You said you haven't seen it. I might have been great on it.
All right. I'm not going to place judgment yet. But based off of the information you've already given me, saying I'm an older white guy, you're already setting yourself up for something that I'm going to look at and I'm going to be like, I don't know about this one, Thom. I don't think you need to go hoodies and stuff. I think you just have to sacrifice something for the greater good of Houday. If you want the wins, you got to scruff it up a little bit.
Okay, I'll scruff it up Monday. I'll let it grow all weekend long and I'll come in scruffed up Monday. Is that cool?
If we win, though, you know what's going to happen. Everybody that's watching this now is going to say, Thom, you got to keep the beard going.
That's fine. I got no problem with that.
Okay.
I got no problem with that at all. My wife would be cool with that.
go.
No problems, no issues whatsoever. But she doesn't like me much anyway. So, hell, what's the difference if I have a beard
way
or
back.
don't have a beard? That's our buddy Zim Houday. He was here yesterday. Paul Doherty coming up at 11. And the Tracer, Tracy Jones, coming up at 11:30. All right, just to tie a ribbon around this thing real quick. This is a shot of what I wore last year. These are the shoes. Now, what do you think of those?
So those are like Vans. Those are like canvas shoes, right?
No, they're not, but that's okay. Go ahead. I mean, are those drip? Are they too much for an older guy?
No.
What do you think, Paul?
So.
No, it's a sleek look.
Sleek?
Yeah, like you're not going overboard, but you didn't wear the Air Monarchs. It's in the middle.
Okay. Well, I like, those in the chat, the hundreds that are in there, if you could just at least weigh in on this. Because there's a part of me that's serious about this because I was really uncomfortable wearing those last year. That's just not me. It's not me. All right, here we go, fellas. Are you ready? Where do we stand, Casey, going into this week of college football and pro football? So here we go. Casey still in the lead by 2 over Paul/Brandon Seho, and has a 4-game lead over yours truly. For those of you that are just tuning in, and there are a number of you, at least in the chat, that $1,000 will go to the winner at the end of the year with the best record, charity of choice. It's only going to charity, not in their pocket. And we will run an audit on both Paul and Casey should they win. We know they won't, but that's where that's going. All right, here we go. Big weekend of college football. We start with the mighty Buckeyes, 8-0 on the year, going to Northwestern, who is terrible. And this spread is now officially at 38. I will take Ohio State to cover that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we all will, honestly. We should.
I'm just going to throw it up there.
Yeah, I mean, Northwestern stinks.
Yeah, this is a bad game. I don't want to spend too much time on this. 38-point spread. This is tough. 38 points is so much, but Ohio State's very good. Northwestern is terrible. So bad.
Isn't there one win against Nebraska?
Yep.
At the very beginning of the season.
All right, very beginning. Yep. So okay, that's a route. What a great place, by the way. Have you guys ever been to a football game at Northwestern?
I've not.
No, Evanston.
That's a really cool place to go to a game. Pat Fitzgerald's a great coach. He's got a bad team this year, but he's done a nice job there at his alma mater, and it's a cool little place. It's not like these mammoth stadiums that you see at Ohio State and Tennessee and Alabama and all these places. It's much like the school, very small, but very intimate. If you're ever up in that neck of the woods and you got nothing going on a Saturday in the fall, check it out sometime. Doesn't matter who they play. All right, Texas Tech 4-4, TCU undefeated, ranked 7th in the first college football playoff rankings. The Horned Frogs, 9.5-point favorites in Fort Worth, and I will take the TCU Horned Frogs to cover that 9.5. Fellas?
Yeah, I am also going to take TCU on this one. I couldn't muster up the strength to pick against them. I mean, you just look at who they've played. They played some very similar opponents. They played Kansas State and Oklahoma State. Texas Tech has, and they lost both those games. They beat Western Virginia by 38 points, and TCU struggled against them last week. I don't know if there was anything injury-wise there, or if West Virginia was at full strength against Texas Tech. But other than that, I mean, there's no other reason you should pick TCU other than that one game. So I'm going with TCU.
Okay. Paul?
I like TCU. They probably should have been in the top 5 here, but just for some reason, I think 9.5 is a lot of points. I'm going to take Texas Tech and hold my nose here.
All right. One of the great points made by 6412 Mars when we put up that picture a second ago, he wanted to know, is that Thom on the left or the right? That's good stuff. And Excalibur Iron Force tells me they've built a new stadium now.
Yeah.
At Northwestern.
It's beautiful. It's right there. The water behind it. It's the facilities there are unbelievable. I actually just seen the comment here. Trey's popping up. Yeah, it's a great facility that they have up there.
Okay. They have the practice athletic facility at Northwest, bubble, whatever it is. Okay.
All right.
We move on. Now this is a game. And, Paul, you being the gambling guy, I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this. We were talking about it before the game. Notre Dame is a really hard team to pinpoint who they are, what they are. They start the season, as we know, at Ohio State. They're ranked 5th in the country when the season begins. They start a quarterback with 0 experience. All the guy could do was really run the ball. He kept them in there. Defense kept them in there, truth be told. Their defense did a nice job slowing down Ohio State, really the only time that's happened all year long. But then the quarterback got hurt, and they go to a backup who's been playing every game since. They have done a lot of this, where they've played really well. Like last week against Syracuse, they go up there and beat a decent Syracuse team, not a great team, but a decent Syracuse team. But, boy, they're hard to figure. But they are home. I'm not totally sold on Clemson. I couldn't believe that Clemson was ranked ahead of Michigan, even though Michigan's played nobody outside of Penn State, and I don't know how good they are. But I can't believe Clemson was ranked ahead of Penn State, ahead of Michigan in the first college football playoff rankings. They're undefeated. To win against Syracuse, they changed their quarterback in the second half of that game. I'm taking the Irish in this one. I'm not all that comfortable with it, but nor am I comfortable with Clemson. So I'm taking Notre Dame to cover.
Yeah, and, Clemson's really struggled with teams that have pretty good defense, Syracuse being one of them. Notre Dame, on the other hand, they struggle with really high-powered offense. So I think that this is a pretty good matchup for Notre Dame. So I think I'm going to take Notre Dame in this one.
Wow.
So I gave this stat on my show the other day, and I'll give it here now. When a top 5 team is a favorite of 6 or less, this checks that box, they're 41.2% against the spread, 14-20. since 2017 in a regular season game, because obviously a lot of those will happen in the playoff. If it's a regular season game, they are just 9-18 against the spread. This is a home game for Notre Dame. Notre Dame has played well this year when they have played better teams. They've played to their competition this year.
Yes,
if
they
you
have.
look at their schedule, they've played to their competition. This is a home game at 7:30 against a good Clemson team with a chance to really knock Clemson out of playoff contention. I think Notre Dame covers at home. Would not be shocked if they win this game.
Yeah, for Clemson, you're right, because when you look at the unbeatens, I think it's safe to say there are two of them where their season would be wiped out as far as getting to the college football playoff, barring some crazy scenario like we saw at the end of the 08 season, where I think Ohio State and LSU were down at like 7-9, and everybody lost in front of them to put those two in the national championship game. It was just insane. But outside of that insanity, I don't think Clemson and I don't think TCU can lose a game and expect to be a one-loss team, and we very well could have a one-loss team be in that Final Four of the college football playoff, if not more than one. But I don't think a one-loss Clemson team or a one-loss TCU team is going to get in before Michigan or Alabama or Georgia or Tennessee, right? So Clemson's got to win out.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt in my mind Clemson has to win out here. So this is a situation where you're going on the road, and a lot of people are picking Notre Dame in this game. Now, the money is about 50-50, but the bets are almost 75%, almost. It's 73% right now on Clemson. So some of the bigger money is on Notre Dame. I just think Notre Dame sets up well for this game at home. This is a Clemson team that they beat a couple of years ago during the COVID season at home. Now, Trevor Lawrence didn't play in that game, and there was all that discussion about, Notre Dame caught a break. They didn't play Trevor Lawrence, and then they got smacked in the ACC championship game when Trevor Lawrence came back to play. I think there's some narrative to this game that Notre Dame's going to get up for. I really like Notre Dame in this spot.
Okay. All right. So it's surprising. I can't believe 3 guys picking that game and all 3 taking the Irish, including me.
All right. Tennessee, Georgia.
This is the game of the weekend. There is no doubt about it. Number 1 against number 3. I just can't buy into Tennessee's defense.
No, they're terrible.
I don't know. The hard part about this, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about this. The hard part about this for me is that I don't know if Georgia, even with a poor, mediocre Tennessee defense, I don't know if Georgia is built to go out and score 45, 48, 50. Now, they did against Oregon, but that's Oregon, okay? First game of the year. And I know they've had some other games where they put up some points. Their schedule has not been very good. They started off red hot against Florida last week, let the Gators back in the game, and then blew the doors off them at the end, so they put up 42 in that game. But by and large, they were right in the 20s most of the game until the very, very end, fourth quarter. But having said that, there's not a player on this Tennessee roster that has played more than 1 or 2 of these games. One would be 2 weeks ago against Alabama, but that was at home. Now they go to Georgia. I'm taking the Bulldogs at -8.
I think I'm actually going to change my pick here.
Oh, boy.
Right in the middle of the stream. I'm going with Tennessee here. I just have a feeling. I'm just kind of looking at the schedules here, kind of comparing and contrasting. I don't think Tennessee wins, but that -8, that's what if it was -6.5, I think I would take Georgia. I think Tennessee and Georgia can go back and forth all game and keep it somewhat close. I can see a scenario where it ends up being like a 9 or a 10, and I would still feel like I was on the right end of this bet. I think Tennessee can keep it in a competitive game. this week against Georgia. I just don't know if Georgia's really played anyone. I mean, you look at the schedule. I don't believe in Oregon. Bo Nix sucks. You know how I feel about Jalen Richardson in Florida. And like you said before. Huh?
Go ahead.
I don't know. It just I have a feeling. That's all I got.
A couple of our viewers, and these guys are on their game. Excalibur Iron Force says, looks like bad weather in Georgia. Could that be a factor? Matt says, I'm a Georgia fan, and my biggest concern is the youth in the secondary, starting a true freshman-free safety. Boom Shakalaka chimes in. I think Tennessee gets exposed. Paul, your thoughts?
I'm not going to be betting this game because I don't want to be on the wrong end of the Tennessee wagon. I think Tennessee is a lot of fun this year. I very much enjoyed watching them. I love what they're doing. I love what's happening in Knoxville every week. I love seeing the production from Neyland Stadium and the home games and the fireworks and the environment and everything. And it pained me to lose on that Alabama game and not be able to enjoy that as much as I would have. So I will not be betting this game because I am taking Georgia. Almost all of the money, almost all of the bets. It's like 90-10, 92-8 in the money on Tennessee. This is a tough one for me to go against a team like Georgia. If Tennessee comes out here and wins, I will definitely be rooting for Tennessee.
Okay.
I want Tennessee to win this game. I want that magic to keep rolling. I think it could be a fun playoff if Tennessee does win this game.
Yep.
But I'm not going to be the guy that picked against Kirby Smart in Georgia in this game.
Okay. All right. The other big game in the SEC, as we mentioned at the very beginning of the program, what Brian Kelly is doing at LSU, I'm told by people in the know that is one depleted roster that Ed Orgeron left him with. And the job he is doing down there, I'm not surprised. Kelly's a great coach. Nick Saban's the best coach in college football history. Alabama goes to Baton Rouge, 13.5. That is a big number. But I will go with a Crimson Tide.
Oh,
you're making it.
Oh, did I say the other way?
You gave us LSU, but I'm happy to switch it. Whatever goes on the graphic is what we're rolling with. I haven't put it up there yet.
Let's go with a Crimson Tide. I'm changing. If I said LSU earlier,
all right.
I think you were going back and forth. I don't know if
you were.
Yet.
Yeah, I was. So I'm going to take Alabama.
Okay.
That's a big number, though. I'm not crazy about that number. It's a big number.
It's a big number. I struggled with it too, Tom. But that's why I got to go with LSU. That Texas game, that Tennessee game is lingering in my mind about this. Alabama hasn't looked the greatest or what we're used to. I think LSU can keep it close. I don't know if they'll win, but they'll keep it close.
Okay.
Alabama's last 2 regular season losses last year on the road at Texas A&M. This year on the road at Tennessee. Almost lost on the road at Texas. In Death Valley. A night game. I don't hate LSU to win this game outright. I'm taking LSU.
Okay.
That's a good pick.
We're starting to get into some tiebreaker stuff now. So
all right.
Boy Wonder points out that Bama struggled on the road.
One more college game before we get to the NFL.
JH, welcome. Never seen JH before. Welcome. And then we had the Naval Academy playing UC. Bearcats desperately need a good game. They're back at home, sold out Nippert Stadium. I know the enthusiasm won't be what it's been the last couple of years, and certainly what it was earlier this year, even after losing to Arkansas. But I think the Bearcats bounce back and they cover.
Okay.
Well, this is unfortunate because I feel like I've been against Bearcat Nation pretty much all year, but I gotta go with Navy. They just have not been able to blow teams out. And this is too big of a spread for them. If it was like 7 or 6.5, I'd probably take UC. But this 19.5, and this is a triple option team.
Yep.
Like if they have a good enough game script, they might not even score 21 points this game. Like, it just –
Yeah, the thing that has to worry you when you talk about that triple option where you're running the ball virtually every play are two things. UC gave up 258 yards of rushing offense to UCF last week.
Yep.
Now, Navy doesn't have the athletes UCF has. But that's their style. You don't play it much. So that is a factor for sure.
Yeah, this is going to be an ugly game. I'm taking Navy, but I don't love it. I know I've said that twice now in the 6 college picks that we've done, but 19.5 in a game against a triple option. What I will say, though, for people listening, we're not picking this game. It's the first Saturday of the month. That means it's a service academy game. Army Air Force, take the under. It's just a little advice for everybody out there.
Okay.
All right.
Now we're on to the pro game, right?
Yep.
All right. Bills v. Jets. Big one inside the AFC East. Bills, 12.5-point favorite. I'm taking Buffalo.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't pick Bills to beat a team that stinks, then I would be doing a disservice for everyone. So I'm taking the Buffalo Bills here. I think it's going to get ugly.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I think 12 points is ugly, but 12 points is still inside the number. I'm taking the Jets.
Wow. The New York football Jets.
It's a lot of faith.
Okay, it is. All right, we continue on in the pro game. The Rams just hammered by the 49ers last week. I'm going to stick with Tampa Bay. I'm going to stick with them. I think that they get after Stafford. I'm not throwing in the towel on Brady. He seems to be sort of, trying in a very difficult situation to move forward. I'm taking the Bucs.
Yeah, this was a tough game for me to choose. Tampa being favored stinks. I mean, these are two teams that just stink outright. But I was doing a little research, and Tampa gets after the quarterback often, and they get after it a lot. Okay. And that's what the Rams struggle with a lot on offense. I don't know what happened with Cooper Kupp yet. So I've got to take Tampa. I can't bet against Thom here.
Yeah, another ugly one. Tampa. Let's move on.
Game of the week.
I'm shooting Doc a text here because we're going to run a few minutes over.
We got 3 NFL picks left.
All right, 3 left.
Titans and Chiefs.
This is a game of the weekend.
Really?
No doubt about it. This is the best game in the NFL this weekend. Titans v. Kansas City, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is. That is a huge number. Tennessee at Kansas City. I am taking Tennessee.
Well, I'm glad you're taking Tennessee, Thom, because I'm going to take Kansas City to beat a team that borderline stinks with a quarterback that kind of stinks.
Okay.
Here's the thing, though, Casey. Just like I said a couple of minutes ago with the Bills and the Jets, 12 is a big number. Tennessee can stay inside of it. I'll take Tennessee.
This is going to be one of those games that Derek Carr just absolutely goes off.
Ryan Tannehill?
No. I'm sorry. Derrick Henry, not Derek Carr.
Okay.
Derrick Henry. He's just going to go off for like 200 yards.
Wait, but you just picked the Chiefs.
If he goes off for 200 yards,
what are you doing then?
Picking Kansas City?
I know. I'm cool with making my bet with the Chiefs.
You're fading yourself.
I'm just saying this is going to end up happening. It's just going to – I've made it – I've submitted
Casey.
No, let it go. Let it go. I mean, that is no logic whatsoever. If Derrick Henry goes off for 200+, that means they are chewing up clock and clock and clock and clock. And that means Kansas City's offense is not on the field. That means they're going to have a hard time covering 12.5.
Yes.
All right, 2 more.
I think we missed the point that I was – never mind. Let's just move on.
All right, Baltimore at New Orleans. This is a Monday night game. Why only 2.5, Paul? Why is that spread at 2.5? What's the money doing on that thing?
Yeah, I was just taking a look at that, and I haven't gotten to it yet. I don't know. I couldn't figure this one out. To be honest, haven't spent a ton of time since this is Monday. I usually kind of put it off until Monday to really dig into it too much. But right now, the bets are mostly on the Saints, just by a little bit, 57-43 for the money. This game opened at 3.5. It's down to 2.5. It's at New Orleans. New Orleans has shown, are they better than 3-5? Probably. I don't know. I think we're all in agreement here on what we're going to pick, though.
Are they believers in Andy Dalton, the Raven killer?
We're across the board on this one,
yeah,
right?
we are.
Ravens?
Yep, we're all on the Ravens.
Ravens. We're across the board on this one.
One more.
One more to go.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Let's go, Tom.
I'm taking the Bengalis.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I'm already going to have to apologize to all my fans. These two teams just stink, and the Bengals are depleted. This is not a good look for them. This is not a good matchup. I got to take the Panthers on this one.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right, it's okay. You don't have to apologize.
Bengals.
Okay.
At home.
A couple of good points made. Andrew says Dalton is playing very well right now, and Dalton has certainly played well in his career against the Ravens, apparently, who have a lot of injuries, the Ravens. We'll see. Purchasing GSS says it's time to fire Casey.
Don't do that to me.
It's time to fire Casey. If the Bengals cover, Casey, will you shave your beard?
You guys want me to shave my beard?
No, somebody just asked that in the chat room.
Oh, yeah, if they win, you guys want me to shave my beard.
No, if they cover.
Oh, if they cover. I mean, my fiance says I should shave either way, so I guess it's going to happen no matter what. So,
okay. All right. Well, there you have it. We're all set. Boys, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Paul Doherty from the Morning Line on Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time, and if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
And you look this up in a medical book, he's got FSB.
FS what?
FSB. It's short for fatal sperm backup.
Oh my God.
Thom, see, the married men know what I'm talking about. I didn't have this until I got married, but I've got the affliction a little bit at times. And Thom, do you ever suffer now that you don't have that job with Fox and you're not bringing home the big checks? Do you have FSB?
You know what? I get it. I totally get what you're saying.
There's a lot of truth to that.
I can't believe I'm admitting this on a show we're just starting. That we're talking about the acronym of FSB.
What is
that
it?
What you said?
Say it, Thom.
FSB.
No, not the acronym. Say the whole thing. The three words.
Sperm backup. Is that right?
There we go.
Okay.
Hey, Thom, you know, we've experienced it since we got married, but ask those two guys, the producers. Now, they've experienced that their whole life, so they really don't see any adjustment. They've experienced it. They've had it their own life.
Well, I thought you were. We have coming up at 11:30 today. Welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, kind enough to join us a couple of times a week. The author of The Morning Line, it is back, themorningline.substack.com, and that would be longtime Cincinnati Enquirer columnist Paul Doherty. Doc, welcome. You've got the lid back. You got the hoodie going. You are now in full fall mode, even though it's going to be 70-plus degrees on this November the 3rd.
Yes, indeed, and I'm eating oatmeal, so bear with me. It's breakfast.
That's okay. That's all right. No problem. Yeah. We don't mind eating and talking around here. We're not at some dinner table where everybody's going to get uptight about it. You wrote, I thought, a very interesting column on the Morning Line, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before, about cynicism. And I'm being very serious when I ask you about this, because when you are the primary sports columnist, or let's say even my dad, when he announced the Reds games, okay? Everybody and his brother, when things are going well, want you to boost up the home team. Talk them up, talk them up, talk them up. They can do no wrong. But you wrote about cynicism, where it comes from, the importance of it, in your opinion, to have it out there. Talk a little bit about that, about what it's like sometimes to go, quote unquote, against the grain of the town you're writing in.
Yeah, that's I could talk about that for days, Thom. My job is not to be a cheerleader. Never was. I don't think the majority of people who read what I wrote were interested in me leading cheers. The team didn't pay me. The newspaper paid me. So in terms of cynicism, I wrote the other day, you don't come into this world cynical. Nobody does. Cynicism is earned and experienced. And if you do what I did for as long as I did, you're going to come across enough people, enough events that you kind of become that way. Maybe about the fifth or sixth time a coach or a manager lies to you, or a player uses you, plays you in effect, or a team does not live up to the hype that you have provided. Sure, you get a little cynical, and it's sort of like an armor for a guy like me. You use the cynicism as a means of protecting yourself against not looking silly. I said that in context with the Bengals this year, and honestly, they've made me look silly because I picked them to win 7 of the first 8 games this year. If the Bengals had played the way I thought they were going to play, and I think the way they thought they were going to play, they'd be 7-1, and they're not. They're 4-4. So there's plenty of room in what I do for I don't know if boosterism is the right word, but sure, supporting the home teams, because let's face it, life is better for everyone, journalists included, when the teams do well. There's a lot of room for that, but there's also room for kind of a more distant eye, an eye with an edge instead of
being simply a fan. That's what I loved about your dad, and I've written that many times, was that even though he was employed by the Reds, your dad never insulted a listener's intelligence by making a situation sound better than it really was. And I always appreciated that about his broadcast, and I tried to bring that to the column as well.
I don't know, Doc, if you had a chance to watch or listen to any of the interview we did with Bronson Arroyo yesterday.
I wish I had. I'll go back and look at it.
I'm gonna highly suggest to you and anyone else out there. It's gotten incredible feedback and response on social media. We had him for an hour, and we talked to him about a number of things that I found just absolutely fascinating. I mean, like stuff I've never heard before. Maybe you've heard it before. Maybe you wrote about it before. But we hearken back to the 2012 playoffs for the Reds. And everybody remembers what happens that year. He told the story that Johnny Cueto actually got hurt in batting practice before the game of Game 1. He was in the batting cage with Arroyo, who was a starter in Game 2. Cueto had looked at Arroyo and said, hey, I'm going to go out and swing hard. He swings 4 times, hits the ball as hard as he can. Arroyo noticed he winces, abdominal something in there, and Arroyo right from the spot said yesterday, I knew this guy was not going to make it through the game. And that was Game 1 coming up. So naturally, that's what happens. Cueto goes out. The bullpen cleans up everything after that. Arroyo tosses a gem, 7 shutout innings, Game 2. They come back. They lose 3 in a row. But he went on to talk about how when they got back here, 2 things happened. One, he didn't say who, but they brought Cueto into the weight area room that they have there at the ballpark, and they had him do a number of calisthenics and all kinds of things to feel like if there was pain in there, so on and so forth. But they never let him go throw the ball. No long toss, no nothing. And Arroyo was in shock. They made the decision to take him off the roster, right, and replaced him on the roster, which you're allowed to do when a player is injured. Subsequently, and I know this is a long-winded way to get there, but I'm just giving you the backdrop here, Arroyo goes to Brian Price, the pitching coach at the time for Dusty Baker, and he says, look, I love Mike Leake like he's my little brother, but he should not start Game 4 of this series. Homer Bailey pitched great in Game 3, even though they lost. He said you should bring me back on 3 days rest, bring Latos back on 3 days rest if there's a Game 5, and go from there. All of that was shot down. I found that to be fascinating. Your thoughts just hearing that in general. You surprised by any of that?
I had not heard any of that, Tom. It was a wacky, ultimately unfortunate series. I would have no problem bringing Bronson back on 3 days. As we all knew, he was a very durable guy and knew how to pitch and could probably get you 5 innings. Latos, I don't know. He's a harder thrower. He's a very high-strung guy. He did not pitch well, obviously, when they needed him. So I'm not sure that would have made much of a difference. The thing that I always said about that I thought was interesting was that if everybody recalls, Aroldis Chapman came to Cincinnati as a starting pitcher.
Yep.
He was made into a closer. And I was against it from the get-go.
I was too.
Even as Chapman was a door-slamming guy as a closer, they surely could have used Aroldis Chapman in that series as a starter. Because the difference between a starter and a reliever, obviously, is circumstance. A reliever is totally beholden to the situation. You know, a starter is going to start no matter what. A reliever has to have his time. And Chapman's time, of course, because this is how we do things, because this is what the book says, you know, 9th inning, 1, 2, 3 run lead, you know, start the 9th. But, you know, Chapman, 1, 2, 3 run lead, you know, start the 9th. But, you know, Chapman, 1, 2, 3 run lead, you know, start the 9th. But, you know, Chapman, 1, 2, 3 run lead, you know, start the 9th. But, you know, Chapman, 1, 2, 3 run lead, you know, start the 9th. But, you know, Chapman, 1, 2, 3 run lead, you know, start the 9th. But, you know, Chapman, 1, 2, 3 run lead, you know, start the 9th. But, you know, Chapman, 1, 2, 3 run lead, you know, start the 9th. But, you know, Chapman, 1, 2, 3 run lead, you know, start the 9th. But, you know, Chapman, 1, 2, 3 run lead, you know, start the 9th. But, you know, Chapman, 1, 2, 3 run lead, you know, st I don't know how many times Chapman pitched in that series. I don't recall. I know it wasn't very many. It wasn't very much, and he had absolutely no impact whatsoever on the outcome of that series. So, to me, looking back and even at the time thinking, boy, why didn't they keep this kid as a starting pitcher? They had it all worked out, and Dusty was against it because, in my opinion, Dusty's like every other manager in baseball. Closer's a security blanket. He's my guy. I put him in the ninth. You can't question it, even if it doesn't work, because that's the book. Otherwise, he comes in and saves the game. You look smart. Managers with great closers are suddenly really smart guys. Managers without great closers are really dumb guys. So, long story short, that's what occurred to me. I did not know any of the Arroyo stuff.
Yeah, it was just that whole interview yesterday with him was, I mean, what an interesting guy. Okay.
Yeah.
The World Series, last night you get the combined no-hitter. That Christian Javier kid was just unbelievable. Isn't it interesting,
He's
Doc?
been on a roll.
Yes, he has. He's been on a roll, and he's an amazing story. I read a lot about it this morning in The Athletic about, his parents came up from the Dominican Republic to see him pitch in this game. They were with him the night before. The Astros had lost the night before. They spent a lot of time with their son very late into the night, knowing this was going to be the biggest moment in his career. And boy, did he deliver the goods. 6 innings, no hits, 9 strikeouts, 2 walks. But I'm just so often fascinated, and you've been around it forever, Doc. You get guys like Justin Verlander. Now he's going to get a chance to make amends tonight, but his track record in the World Series is brutal. He was terrible in Game 1. I just find it so. And then Aaron Nola last night wasn't any good from the 4th inning on for Philadelphia, and that's 2 bad starts for him now in a row in the postseason. I just find it so interesting that the guys a lot of us think are the guys that are going to step up and deliver the goods, and it ends up being some of these other guys that a lot of people have never heard of. I think it makes for great theater, regardless of sports, but in this case, the World Series.
Well, the guy that you thought was good money was Verlander. I mean, he was unhittable all year, literally unhittable for great stretches of time. And he didn't pitch well before the World Series, Tom. If you recall, he got hammered pretty good in the championship series too. So, yeah, the great thing about baseball is you really never know. I think this series is a great indicator of that. I mean, you've had 3 games that were not close, but this has been a very dramatic series. Only Game 1 was close. The other 3 were not. And yet I would not say that any of them lacked for drama. I think the last 3 games will be fascinating. What do the Phillies do after Zach Wheeler? And Wheeler hasn't been that good either lately. They're looking at having to beat Valdez and Verlander, one of those games in Houston, to win this thing now. So it's still very interesting to me, but you're right. Sometimes the guys that are supposed to come up big don't, and sometimes guys you never heard of come up big.
Want to circle back before we let you go on the Bengals. We all agree last year, maybe after Monday night's game more than ever, it is time to just put those 2 words long in the rearview mirror. Now questions abound everywhere after you get humiliated. Is the season over? Of course it's not over. You've played 8 games. You got 9 games left. Schedule notwithstanding, they have a chance to get back to the playoffs and all those kinds of things. But I think for the first time, Doc, there are a lot of people who, if they weren't questioned when the season began, there are certainly questions abound, whether that be in the coaching staff, whether that be certain players on this team, that all of a sudden you have to start wondering about, right?
Well, yeah, because the lighter portion of the schedule is done now, and they're 4-4 Monday night. That was a game they really needed to win. That was a game they really should have won. And they chose that night to play really poorly, not well coached. The play calling was bad. The coaching was bad. The playing was bad. The effort was so-so. But clearly, Cleveland was much more interested in winning that game than the Bengals were. So, yeah, when you're 4-4 and you should be 5-3 at the worst, everybody should be open for questions.
Do you think, at this point, looking at the rest of the schedule, and you admitted openly, I don't think anybody, maybe not 7-1, but I think most people thought 6-2 after 8, and certainly a win in the 9th game, a win in the 10th game with the Panthers, and then after the bye, the Steelers. At the end of the day, do you think, Doc, this team can win 6 more games to get to 10 on the year?
Sure. Schedules are funny things, Tom. What a schedule looks like when it comes out in the spring is completely different than what it looks like in September. And it's completely different in November and December from what it looked like in September. You know, who would have thought that Tampa, for example, would flame out the way they have, that Brady would have the troubles he's having. All of a sudden, that game doesn't look so daunting. You know, you go to Tampa and play the Bucs. It doesn't look that bad. So on the face of it, yeah, I think they can get 6 more. They can get 2 in the next 3 weeks. They've got Carolina, they got bye, and then they're at Pittsburgh. Those are 2 games they should win. I'm done saying they will win because we've seen how that's gone. After that, you've got other than Buffalo and Kansas City, if this team plays the way everybody thinks it's capable, there's nobody on the schedule that the Bengals can't beat. On the other hand, after Monday night, maybe we're reassessing everything. Maybe we go from, well, they're just not playing well right now, and they'll snap out of it. So maybe we overestimated just how good they are. That's what Monday night did for me. It got me thinking, well, maybe a lot of the assumptions I had made about this team coming into the season simply aren't true. And so it's sort of a shape-shifting thing. But, yeah, to answer your question, sure, I think they can win 6 more. I also think they can lose 4 or 5 more. So that's I guess that's part of the beauty of the NFL, any given Sunday.
Absolutely. All right,
hey,
Doc.
one other thing we didn't talk about.
What's that?
And maybe it's not an issue. I wrote about it for the morning line today. How does everyone feel about the Bengals making Pac-Man Jones the ruler of the jungle on Sunday?
That is a very good question. I pondered that in my own mind for a little while this morning. What are your thoughts about it?
My thoughts are that life is gray. Life is never black or white, never this or that. It's somewhere in the messy middle. And Pac-Man has done some really bad stuff. He's a hero of TMZ videos and has, comes off as kind of a bad guy. I mean, when you wish a policeman to die, I hope you die tomorrow, was one of the things he said to a cop from the back of a squad car. On the other hand, he has adopted, I believe legally, all 3 of Chris Henry's kids, one of whom, as we all know, is a terrific football player. But he has taken them in and is raising them now, which is such a good thing and noble thing to do. So what do you do with them? On the one hand, I think, if the ruler of the jungle is supposed to represent some sort of Bengal ideal, Adam Jones falls so much short of that. If the ruler of the jungle is supposed to represent a guy who has made some mistakes, but has also done some very good things, and by the way, was a terrific player here for 8 years, then okay. So I'm right in the middle on that, and I shouldn't be. I should have a rock solid opinion, but I don't. I know Mike Brown was very fond of Adam, and was very supportive of Adam, and I'm sure Mike had a hand in making Adam a ruler of the jungle. But it's fair to wonder if that's an appropriate honor for Adam Jones.
I got to tell you, though, Doc, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all because, look, at the end of the day, not you, not me are judge and jury at the end of the day, right? I mean, we all know that. I think based on track record, that Mike Brown has proven throughout his entire run as the head man of the Bengals that he is a very forgiving man. Whether you go back to the Chris Henry days, you go to the Vontaze Burfict days, you go to the Pac-Man Jones days, and all those guys, I think if nothing else, Mike Brown has been consistent in his philosophy, if that's a word you want to use, or what's in his heart, that he is a very forgiving man. So I'm not surprised at all that Pac-Man Jones is in this position.
And he even said as much many years ago. He sees himself as a bit of a redeemer, and that's nice. Although there are those who would also say, save the social work for away from the field.
That's a legitimate point.
Do not involve social work in the football game or as it representing the football team.
Yeah.
Do what's best overall for the team. So I don't know. Like I said, it's a very gray area, but it's a pretty good discussion as well.
I got you. Doc, thanks for your time, my friend. Have a great weekend.
You bet, Tom. Thank you.
All right, themorningline.substack.com. You can check it out. It's back. It's back with Paul Daugherty. Always very interesting topics when Doc comes on. That last one, and we got Tracy Jones, I know, coming up in a couple of minutes. But fellas, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, you are of the younger generation where, Pac-Man Jones, I think, to a lot of younger people, and it's safe to say all those things about Chris Henry's kids. He's had his skirmishes and brushes with the law. There's no doubt about that. But he's gotten very involved in the community. He does a lot of stuff with the Bengals, does the podcast stuff and all that kind of thing. How do you feel about Pac-Man Jones instead of, I'll pull a name out of the hat, instead of somebody like Max Montoya or someone like that who's been in our community forever and has been nothing but positive for our community?
It is a tough question, because as much as I think maybe outside of football that there was a lot going on with Pac-Man, I think he brought a fire to the Bengals. I thought he brought passion. Those are two things that I would put high on the ruler of the jungle totem. And I think he's done well for himself now. I know maybe recent issues being just a factor in that, but I don't know. I don't know if I have a problem with it or not. I don't know what to think, because I don't feel like it's as big of a deal. I know it's a big deal for the fan base, I guess, but I just don't see it as like some big award or anything. It's just a week for a tiny bit of spotlight. And if you were going to have a problem with that, then you have a problem with his podcast and all the other stuff that he does on the side, right? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a huge opinion on it. I think it's sort of like what you said, Casey. I think he's made his mistakes. He's had a lot of transgressions in his past. He's also done some good things to try and make up for a lot of those bad things he's done. And if the Bengals are going to go out there and give this to him, I think in the grand scheme of things, it's a decision the Bengals made, and I'm not going to sit here and knock it one way or the other.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. It's a complicated topic. There's no doubt about it. One of the most complicated men who walks the planet each and every day is going to join us after this timeout. He is at his palatial estate. I want to find out from Tracy Jones if family has finally rolled into town to this substandard place where he is renting, spending tens upon thousands of dollars. We're back with Tracy Jones in a moment.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time. And if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartelsheatingandcooling.com. Bartels Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
Making the argument that this only hits married men. I thought that's what you were saying. These guys aren't married.
Well, I know, but they're not getting any. So they have FSB.
If I'm giving you some advice, I would stay away from gritties. I would just keep it to a simple 2-step. And I think baby steps.
Whoa. What? You would stay away from gritties? Why? You said you haven't seen it. I might have been great on it.
All right, I'm not going to place judgment yet, but based off of the information you've already given me, saying I'm an older white guy, you're already setting yourself up for something that I'm going to look at and I'm going to be like, I don't know about this one, Tom. I don't think you need to go hoodies and stuff. I think you just have to sacrifice something for the greater good.
All right, welcome back to Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. He's not very well lit. I don't know how in the world you can be, and we'll bring in Tracy Jones. I don't know how you look like you're in witness protection down there right now.
Well, I just actually got off the beach, took a walk on the beach, beautiful day. I don't know why it's so dark in here, but I really enjoyed it. Of course, my clothes were off. No one's at this beach, so clothing is optional. I took Tucker for a nice long walk. Hey, let me touch on something about Pac-Man Jones, because I heard you talking to Doc earlier. Love Doc. He's a liberal. He's a big-time liberal, but that's a whole different story. As far as Pac-Man Jones, I am not related to Pac-Man Jones. I just want everybody to know that. I am 3% black. My great-great-great-grandma was black. 3% black, but no relation to Pac-Man Jones. In fact, I've met Pac-Man a couple times. I like him a lot. He's a pretty decent guy. I know he's done some bad things, but I like him.
I think most people that I've talked to who have been around him, they say the same thing. The neighbors of his I've met are people that live on his street or whatever it might be. I think he's in northern Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. But they all say that same kind of thing, that he's a very engaging guy, he's a warm guy, fun guy to be around, all that kind of stuff. So, look, I'm not going to drag this into a political mess here, but you said you're 3% African-American.
Yes.
That was good enough to get Elizabeth Warren apparently into college. So have you taken advantage of that in any form or fashion?
No, I'm sure. I don't know if Dusty Baker, if I played in the World Series, would consider me African-American being 3%. I don't. You know, Tom, I don't want to talk about race and stuff because, you know, how that crowd all been out will get in trouble. I do have something to tell you. And,
yes.
And this is kind of, I'm glad that I'm kind of dark and you can't really see me because what I'm going to say is big news. And I don't like to ambush you. It's not ambushing you, but I probably should have run this past you guys at Chatterbox before I go on with this. There's a rumor out there that your dad is going to come back and broadcast.
Hang on. You hang on, Tracy. You are really breaking up here. I mean, I don't know if that palatial estate, you said it didn't have cable TV. I'm wondering about now the internet connection. Let's try it again. What is the big news?
There's a rumor out there. Hear me.
Uh-oh.
The rumor is that your dad is coming back to broadcast.
There's a rumor out there that my dad is coming back to broadcast. There is zero chance. Where did you hear that rumor?
I heard that rumor, and it's kind of funny because we both agree that your dad is the show Wednesday is like peak Marty. Marty is getting better, and I think Marty has really regretted retiring, and I think he's going to pull a Tom Brady. I really do. Now he's not going to divorce Amanda. He's not that stupid, but I am hearing, and I've heard it from two sources, that he's thinking about coming back and being a broadcaster in some capacity. That's what I hear, Tom. You can go with it.
Is there any way, Casey, we can call my dad? Do you have his number?
He's actually out of the country.
I do not.
Oh, that's right.
That's
He's out
right.
of the country. That's right. He's on the high seas, probably not too far away from you right now.
Yeah, and I know this for a fact. He's been practicing. He's been watching the World Series. He's been practicing. Now, he doesn't want to jump into this right away, this broadcast, because he's been off for a while. So I'm hearing that he's going to broadcast the Cyclones game just to kind of, hone his craft a little bit and go from there. This is big stuff, and it's a huge rumor. I know it's kind of stretched a little bit, but I've heard it from more than one source. And I'll tell you how I knew something was going on. Your dad and I were having dinner the other night at Walt's Hitching Post. And all of a sudden, Marty jumps up and goes, "And this one belongs to the Cyclones." And I go, "Marty, where did that come from?" It's kind of like Tourette's. And Marty said, I'll take the steak. And he changed the subject. Something's going on with your dad, and I just want to break it on your show, Tom.
Well, we this is the kind of thing where, the media in this day and age are going to report on things that aren't true, or they're going to, not have confirmed sources on this. I don't know where to go with this because I don't think there's any chance whatsoever of that happening. That's my opinion, though.
Yeah, that you have nothing to do with this. I mean, I'll take the pressure. I have no problem with that. Let me ask you this, and you agree on this. Don't you think your dad's just as good? Don't you think his voice is better now than we go back to 1974 when he first broadcast?
Well, it's
Marty's
much better.
getting better.
It's much better.
Yeah.
The timbre in his voice is much different. He stopped smoking, as you know, which he used to smoke for many, many, many years. Yep. He just sounds better. His voice is spectacular. But I can promise you, wherever your sources, is this by chance from your old friend Richard from Indian Hill? Is he part of this rumor mill?
Listen, I'm not going to tell you my sources.
Of course you're not. Of course, you're like the New York Times.
Of course I'm not. That's exactly right, Tom. One of the reasons you have me on this show is because of my connections. Is that not true?
That's true. And because you are able to see things other people don't see.
Right. And this is something I'm hearing. This is what I'm hearing, that Marty's coming back to broadcast. Remember, I played for 5 major league teams, played in the American League, the National League, the East Coast, the West Coast. Damn it, Tom, I played in Canada. I mean, I know a lot of people. I have a lot of connections, and this is why you have me. And to break stories like this, you can laugh all you want. I know Casey and Paul are going, yeah, right. Watch when it happens and it goes down. Everybody's going to be talking about it because they heard it on Chatterbox. That's what I'm talking about, Tom.
Casey, Paul, do you have anything to add to what is clearly It's the equivalent of what we were talking about before the show.
Well, you know
what Stephen Colbert did the other night.
No,
he's being ripped up one side and down the other for saying something that's just not even close to being true. And this is Tracy Jones right now.
Well, I think, honestly, Tracy, I think I have to side with you because I know the Cyclones, they upped the $1 beer night from $1 beers to $2 beers. So if he needs to go down there and get comped some beers, what better way to do it than announce the game? So I'm in on it.
See, so you can get that visual. Also, when I was over at Marty's house the other night,
I thought you said you were at Walt's Hitching Post.
Yeah, I was. That was another night. I see Marty. I see your dad more than you see him. Remember, Tom, I'm the major leaguer he never had. Now, he's kind of proud of you, but he's really proud of me. But I went over to Marty's house, and he was sweeping. He had his sweeper out. He was vacuuming. And then the other day, about 4 days ago, I go over to his house, and he's cleaning out the gutters. He's up on the roof. Now, he's 80 years old, and he's cleaning out gutters. My whole point is he's bored to death. Amanda wants him out of the house and back to work. And this is going to go down. I don't know when it's going to go down, but he's going to be broadcasting. I'm not telling you it might not be the Reds. I have 3 teams. You want to hear them?
Let me hear them.
The Angels, because of the politics, Orange County, okay? Number 2, the Marlins. And number 3, the Rays. You ask why? No taxes in Florida. And Marty watches his money. So those are the 3 teams that I think is a possibility. And Tom, he's going to need a color man. And I think you would be perfect.
No, I was getting, as soon as you said those 2 words, color man, my thought immediately is why not Tracy Jones and Marty Brennaman in the booth? Could you imagine that, the success that you two have enjoyed for decades? Brennaman and Jones on baseball, to now all of a sudden have 3 hours of that in a broadcast booth every single night. What do you think the reaction would be like in Miami, Florida, if you two were on the air doing Marlins games on a nightly basis?
I think it would go over well. It's just I'm so popular in Bellevue. I mean, I'm like I'm like a king in Bellevue. Everybody's, how you doing today, Trace? It's like, how could I leave Bellevue, Kentucky? I can't do that. I really can't. So I would stay. However, if you got a job with Marty, how do I figure in? Because you Brennamans can't do it without Tracy Jones. Tracy Jones is part of your show. Tracy Jones is part of Marty's show. I'm a big part of the Brennamans. Can you fit me in somehow, some way?
Dude, I'm telling you, I think that I think the pairing would be you and Marty on either Marlins, Tampa Bay Rays. Lord knows the audience would jump dramatically for those 2 franchises if you guys showed up. And the Angels, I mean, that's back in your old stomping ground out there.
Whew. You talking about some clean heinies out in Orange County. Woo! Nice. Real nice. You know what I'm talking about, Tom? Am I breaking up? Oh, sorry.
I do know what you're talking about. I know exactly.
Can we talk a little bit about something that you said about baseball and how you wanted a clock? That might have been
it's going to happen. It's not a matter of whether I want it or don't want it. It's going to happen. So, I mean, it's going to happen starting next year.
It doesn't make it right, Tom. I love baseball the way it is. Every single game has a clock, right? Except for baseball. That's what makes baseball so special.
No, it's what's making baseball a dying game.
No, I totally disagree with that. If you watch the World Series and you watch the playoffs, there is not
the World Series and the playoffs are different, Tracy. The issue is not people watching the playoffs or the World Series, although I got to tell you, it's going to be fascinating because when they had that rain out in Philadelphia the other night, we talked about it on this show at the time. You weren't on that day. This is baseball's worst nightmare, potentially. And I'm not saying it's a slam dunk on what's going to happen. But they are keeping the travel day on Friday after Game 5 tonight. They're keeping the travel day in the schedule, which means and the power brokers that be on Park Avenue and the MLB offices will tell you this behind closed doors. This is like a nightmare scenario for them. And that is arguably a Game 6 and a Game 7. The two biggest games in the sport of baseball. Okay, the World Series, this is their Super Bowl, are going to have to go head-to-head with college football on Saturday, where you've got Tennessee playing Georgia. You got Alabama playing LSU. You got all these big games in college football. And then if it goes to Game 7, Major League Baseball is going up head-to-head with the National Football League. And we're talking about regular season games in college and pro. The ratings.
Who cares? We don't want that football crowd. We don't want that NBA crowd. We don't want that. I followed the game of baseball since I was 4 years old. My mom let me stay home from kindergarten to watch the World Series against the Cardinals, against the Tigers. Okay? I love the game of baseball. And when I hear you slam that great game saying you want a clock, you know who wants the clock, Tom? Announcers like you. That's why you want it. Your dad, this is why I love your dad, because he's so old school. He wanted those games to go on forever. He loved doubleheaders, didn't he? He loved the banana phone, right, Tom? His favorite player, do you know who it was?
Who?
Mike
Tracy
Hargrove.
Jones.
Mike Hargrove. You remember him?
Oh,
Human
my
rain
God.
delay, right? He didn't care if the game went 18 innings. Marty was old school, like a Kurt Gowdy, those type of guys.
All right. Well, look, I'll be the first to admit, on multiple issues with baseball, I am still very old school. My concern is for the sport. The playoffs in the World Series are not the problem with a pitch clock. The problem is 162 games. You just can't keep the fan base you're trying to build up, the younger people. You can't get them to watch without more action, Tracy. That's the question.
So the sport worked for how many years, and all of a sudden you're going to change it up? Because
society has changed, Tracy. Society has changed. And baseball games used to be, as you well know, and I've said on this show 1,000 times, when I was announcing the Cubs games in the early 90s, back when you were playing, late 80s, early 90s, even when I moved on to the Diamondbacks in the mid-90s and the late 90s, a 3-hour game was rare. Most games were in that 220, 240 range, right in there. And this was all pre-quote-unquote internet, cell phones, computers, all that kind of thing. 2 generations of kids have grown up. Now, when they turn on a baseball game, it's 3 hours plus 3:15, 3:20. Paul, you can jump in here on this. Casey, too.
Yeah.
You guys are living proof of what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, broadcasting in the minor leagues last year, the Orioles placed a huge emphasis on taking pitches, right? They didn't want you to swing at pitches. They wanted you to develop your eye. They wanted you to develop how you saw the pitches and get deeper into counts. But what that meant was the team that I broadcasted for, Tracy, they were AA team for the Orioles. They went from playing the fastest games in the minor leagues the year before I got there to last year playing the longest games, or one of the longest games, because every player was – it was 5, 6, 7 pitch at-bats, which, I mean, you well know, is a great at-bat. It's a quality at-bat. You want to see 5, 6 pitches in an at-bat, and you're going to hit a home run because eventually the pitcher's going to run out of stuff. But what that led to was crowds leaving in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning because the games ran long, and every game being 3 hours, 3 hours and 15 minutes, even in the minor leagues. Now, this year, I've talked to a lot of the guys in the minor leagues that I broadcasted with last year that were there and saw that pitch clock in real time. They talked that, it was an adjustment in the beginning, but that the quality of play didn't decline. And in fact, it was just the same. It just took out a lot of that unwanted dead time. So that's where I stand on it.
No, nobody's complaining. The only people that are complaining are you announcers. No one complains. Everybody wants the game over with, right? You know why? Because the broadcasters are lousy. How could you have a Thom Brennaman sitting here doing a show? The guy's one of the best broadcasters, period. Vin Scully has passed. A guy by the name of Marty Brennaman, who's coming back. I don't know for what organization he's going to be broadcasting for. But if you have great broadcasters, who cares if the game goes 3.5 hours? You guys do because you work it. You want to get out of it.
No, Tracy, no. It has to do with because I sat through hundreds, if not thousands, of NFL games that go 3 hours or college football games going 3 hours. But the difference is the amount of action that takes place. Nobody seems to mind sitting through a 3-hour football game. They really don't. You say you don't want their crowd, that's fine. But I'm saying nobody minds sitting through a 3-hour football game because there's action. A 3-hour baseball game, 3-hour and 20-minute baseball game, day after day after day in June and July and August, it's not cutting it. Or they wouldn't be doing it.
You know what? Like I said, we don't want the NBA crowd. Don't go to the baseball. We're not going to get that crowd. It's cerebral. We're always thinking. I can't tell you. I'm sitting here enjoying baseball, guessing what pitcher is going to throw what pitch. Is he going to throw a curveball? Is he going to throw a fastball? Watching why Berkman is so good to the ball because he's got short arms, right? Getting into it and really breaking it down. You got to enjoy that in baseball. That's what it's all about.
I do in the postseason. Paul, you had something to add?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to ask you, Tracy, if you look at the minor leagues and you say that, okay, next year with the pitch clock, that the quality of play would stay the exact same, but you would take out all of the unwanted dead time in the game where guys are standing around or guys are fixing their gloves or whatever it might be. Are you still against, even if the quality of play is the exact same, nothing changes, but you just eliminate those unwanted dead periods? Are you still just don't want to change anything?
Let me break it down for you JOs, okay? I enjoy the game of baseball, okay? I don't care if it lasts 4 hours. I'll tell you how sick I was, Tom. I would go watch batting practice when I'd go to an Angel game. I'd go and watch batting practice when I went to a Dodger game. I love the game. And I think you don't care about if it lasts 2 hours and 35 minutes or 2 hours and 45. And let me add one more thing here. If you really want to know the breakdown of the time, there was actually a study with the Royals and the Twins. I think we talked about this. I think I talked about it with your dad. The first 3 innings, Tom, are fine. They're within that 15-second, the pitcher.
You're right.
Then the second time around the batting order, it gets a little longer, and then when the relief pitchers come in, then we really slow it down.
Yep.
You ever see a baseball game? The first 3 innings you're selling through. It's like, oh, man, this is going to be a 2-hour game. And then it starts to drag a little bit. I like those games. I'm not in a rush, Tom. I just sit there, eat my popcorn, or I don't eat popcorn. I eat my salty peanuts and my root beer, whatever I'm drinking, and watch a baseball game. That's what I enjoy.
Right.
I like it.
Okay. All right.
That's why you have me here.
We just agree to disagree, and that's fine. Now, before we let you go, I have to ask you, have the accommodations improved at all? Because a lot of people are wondering, you were with us down in Cancun at that alleged 6-star resort. You called it a dump. You get to the place, this 7, 8, 9, 10 bedroom spread you're renting down there along the west coast of Florida. You said it's not up to standard. You didn't have cable TV. You couldn't watch a Bengals game the other night. Whole 9 yards. You got family, you said, coming in. Have the accommodations improved?
Well, let me just say this. We don't have very good lighting in this room, do we? That's another complaint.
Is the power out?
It's just half-ass. I'm supposed to have someone put in some Wi-Fi into the building, and they are supposed to be here at 8 o'clock, and it's now 12 o'clock. So you're late, right? You're late. And then I talked to the guy, Well, that's a whole different story. I don't want it. I go from 1 to 100. I don't know if you know that, Tom. And then I start being very chippy. Chippy. And I start getting a little angry that we have no Wi-Fi. Thank God Danae brought her card that she uses to access the internet, or she couldn't work. It's just, come on, I'm paying top dollar. It's all right for Paul and Casey to have a place like this. They probably think it's big time. But for someone like a Tracy Jones, it's not that great. And I'm probably not going to come back.
Well, now, Tracy, one of our loyal viewers, Sir Boy Wonder, he goes by, says, you know what? Red Roof Inn has plenty of internet and plenty of good lighting, but you look down your nose at the possibility of that kind of thing.
Okay, let me pull back the curtain just a little bit. Can I pull it back a little bit?
Please.
I stayed at the Red Roof Inn when we drove up here for the night. Okay, that place is a dump, and the only reason I stayed there is because they allow dogs, right? Okay, so we always stay at a Red Roof Inn because they allow dogs. That's fine. It was $125 a night. But here's the problem: there was some crackhead upstairs that walked around till 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if it was. They were certainly a druggie, on meth. Kept me and Tucker. Danae fell asleep. She was tired. But you heard Tucker the whole night going, because he'd hear noises. But some crackhead loser, probably a Democrat, was sitting there, on drugs. It was very irritating. But I do like the Red Roof Inn. They're fine. They're the cheapest hotel going. Not in my character, though, Tom.
All right, Trace, before I let you go, because it will go down one way or the other over the weekend, and you've been waffling on this whole thing the entire time anyway, but which is normally not your style, but it is on this. Before we let you go, series is tied 2-2. It's down to a best of 3 now. Who wins the World Series?
This game tonight is going to be interesting. I'll tell you why. Syndergaard against Verlander. They're both really good friends. They both had Tommy John surgery in the offseason. And if you look at their stats, Syndergaard has pitched like 9 innings in a month, right? And Verlander's given up 12 runs in 15 innings. See, I actually prepare for the show as well. I've got a lot of information. So those guys had Tommy John surgery in the offseason. They rehabbed together. Syndergaard really respects Verlander. I just think we're going to get a big surprise. I think my point is this. I got to get to the point because I get a little long-winded. The point is, I think they've hit a wall. Both those pitchers, they're tired. And because Verlander giving up 12 runs in 15 innings, that's kind of crazy, right?
Right.
So we'll see tonight. Again, I didn't answer your question. I talked for 5 minutes and didn't answer your question. That's why I'm so good at this broadcasting.
Are you going to answer it or not?
I'm going to go with the Astros.
Okay.
Although, and Dusty, I love Dusty. And that whole thing about African Americans, no African Americans.
That's a big
in
deal.
The World Series.
It's a big deal. Yeah. It's a big deal.
And if I played, would you consider me the 3% if I was playing in the World Series? Would you consider me an African American?
No, I would not. But this is a big, big deal in baseball. And I was on a panel that had a 3-hour conversation about this. People who are a lot smarter and a lot more learned than I am. When you played, African American ball players made up over 18, closer to 19% of those in the major leagues. That number now is down under 6% in the major leagues. And Tony Clark, head of the union, Rob Manfred, Dusty Baker, all the power brokers are embarrassed by this whole thing. But they will point to the fact, as you pointed out not too long ago, we briefly touched on this discussion, that I think it was like 4 of the top 8 or 9, and then 11 of the top 22 that were in this year's draft were African American. So perhaps it's starting to move in the right direction. Tracer,
let me just end it on this, because I dated an African American girl when I was in high school, and she always brought up the point, I think it was a legitimate point, is why aren't there any black place kickers in the NFL? That really bothered her. Think about that, Tom. Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly something to think about. Because you go to a ton of high school football games, and I do because I still have a son in high school.
Yep.
You see a ton of teams whose best athlete, kind of like you were in high school, right? You probably did everything, right? Play offense, play defense. You're the punter, you're the field goal kicker, the whole 9 yards. And there are African-American field goal kickers everywhere at the high school level. That's a very interesting
We got to do something about that, Tom.
All right. Tracer, have a great rest of the time on your trip.
All right. See you, boys.
See you, Tracy.
How about that? Thought-provoking stuff from Tracy Jones, as always.
He's been thought-provoking this week. Those are a good couple of shows from Tracy.
Mediocre, truth be told, at best. Mediocre at best. Okay, do we have a cherry on top? Presented by
we
United
do.
Dairy Farmers. By the way, Tracy Jones, the Tracy Jones Experience, we'll call it from now on. Brought to you by Encore Technologies. So what's our cherry on top?
Courtesy of Trace Fowler. This is a pretty good explanation of Casey here and his fandom. We're going to flash it up on the screen.
Now, can you read that? I can't see that.
Yes, I'll read it to you here.
Please do.
Yes. So Casey got photoshopped here from our good guy Trace. An enthusiastic devotee, the definition of a fan. An enthusiastic devotee as of a sport or a performing art, usually as a spectator, but also very high volatility and says stink a lot. And that is Casey McAllister.
Love it. Case, any reaction before we leave?
That's accurate.
Beautiful. I love it.
Not too picky right now.
Well, you better update after the weekend, Casey, the stink list.
Of course. Of course.
Okay, we'll update that on Monday. Paul's show, not too picky, is coming up in about 2 minutes from now.
Yeah.
And then after that, it'll be today. No, not today, Box Lunch. But moving forward, they'll be on after us, and then your show on Mondays and Thursdays. Again, we will not be here tomorrow. Box Lunch will be taking the 10 to 12 o'clock time spot tomorrow. We are not here with Off the Bench. So we got lots to catch up on Monday. I mean, we'll have the World Series come to an end. We got the Bengals. We got a huge weekend of college football. Fellas, I hope you both have a great weekend and stay safe.
Yeah, you too, Tom. Enjoy Fort Worth.
I will.
Can't wait to see what shoes you wear.
Yeah, make sure you pick up that cowboy hat.
Okay. All of you have a great weekend. God bless. We will see you on Monday. All right,
at United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time. And if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
Welcome in to our Thursday episode of Not Too Picky. Paul Fritchner, Reed Mouse here. Casey McAllister is over there. Thanks to everybody for joining us. If you are watching Not Too Picky for the first time, this is the Chatterbox Sports Gambling Show. It is live on Mondays and Thursdays. You can find us in podcast form. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all the rest, everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, we're on all of there too. How we run this show, we go through our picks for the weekend. We focus on a lot of the local teams. So we'll talk about Miami, Kentucky, Notre Dame. We'll talk about UC. We'll talk about the Bengals. College basketball is right around the corner. We'll get to that on Monday as well. All of this coming up right now. One thing that we focus on, as you can see of the gambling lines here at the bottom of the screen, we also ask for chat picks. So what I'd like all of you to do is submit your best gambling picks that you've had from the weekend. We'll go through the chat. We pick the chat as well. Casey, do we have a timer on the clock today, or do I need to set the timer on my phone?
Nope, we've got it in the top corner.
The timer is up there in the top right corner. I need Reed in my ear, Casey, if we can turn that up. There we go.
Ooh, there we go.
There we go. All right.
Smooth.
So we have a 30-minute countdown clock for today's show. This show today, and actually I got some good feedback on the countdown clock.
That's good. We like
people
feedback.
saying that they like the shorter, more condensed version of the show, picks coming in and out. We're going to start here today with the local games. Bengals minus 7.5 against the Panthers. Over-under's 42.5. The Bearcats minus 19.5 against Navy. The over-under in that one's 46.5. Notre Dame plus 3.5 against Clemson. That total is 44.5. A little on the lower side there in that Notre Dame and Clemson game. Ohio State, maybe the ugliest local line of the weekend, minus 38 at Northwestern, and the over-under in that one, 56.5. Kentucky plus 1 at Missouri. Weird line there. Kentucky plus 1 at Missouri. The total in that one is 40.5. Again, if you're watching, you see any of these lines, you're thinking about anything, we're going to have the chat. I got the chat right here pulled up with us. Okay, so let's go through this weekend's games. The Bearcats minus 19.5 against Navy. Just don't bet this game. Don't bet this game. I don't want to speak for you, Reed, but in my mind, do not bet this game. It's ugly.
It's not an edge.
There's no edge in this game anywhere. I don't like it. I don't like anything about it. It's a triple option team in Navy. The Bearcats have had trouble covering at times this year. They've let teams get back into the games late. I don't like it a lot. I don't like it at all. Bearcats minus 19.5. I guess I'd probably have to lean Cincinnati only because Navy has been terrible. But the total is low if you're going for a 19.5 point spread at 46. I just don't like anything about this game.
It's been bet down to 18.5 on DraftKings, which is where I do most of my betting at the current time. But it's been bet down to 18.5. I'm with you. I don't like this either way. I don't like – it's a weird score. It's a weird line. 18 points is a weird number to cover. If you throw it in the local game parlay, which we do, we bet all the local teams in a parlay. But other than that, not touching it.
Yep. All right, next one. Notre Dame plus 3.5 against Clemson. I do love this game. Oof. Plus 3.5 against Clemson at home. The total is 44.5. When a top 5 team is a favorite of 6 or less, they are 41.2% against the spread. This is the third time I've given this stat. I gave it in Monday's show. I gave it on Thom's show today. I'm going to give it again. In a regular season game, 9-18, 33%. What scares me is that a lot of us in the gambling space are talking about Notre Dame being the pick for this week. A lot of the money is on Clemson in this game, even more so the bets, more so than the money. A lot of the sharper money has come in on Notre Dame. Reed.
So when you see Vegas lay out these traps, right? I mean, number 4 team in the country, Clemson, they're 4th, right? 4th or 5th? 4th. Number 4 team in the country, 3.5 point favorites against Notre Dame, who's lost to Marshall and Stanford. You're thinking, oh, yeah, you take the easy 4. But there's this counterintuitive nature that says, wait, a lot of people are in on Notre Dame because they have played the premier teams that they've played so far very well. They beat Syracuse outright. They covered against Ohio State. I mean, they really never had a chance to win, but they were in the game about midway through the third quarter. They've played the good teams well, played the bad teams terrible. So these conflicting opinions. That being said, I kind of like where Notre Dame's at. They're at home, 3.5 points. I think you can sprinkle that money line just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that 3.5 points isn't a lot for Notre Dame. I think that this game, the way it's turned out, the way that this game has been bet all week, like I said, you've seen some of the money come in on Notre Dame late in the week, and now as the sharps have gotten in on it, you're starting to see a lot more people pick Notre Dame, which makes me nervous. But like I said earlier on Tom's show, a lot of the way that this game is being looked at is that Notre Dame has played to their competition.
Sure.
They played down to Marshall. They played very much down to Stanford. They looked terrible in those two games, but they looked very good against BYU in Las Vegas.
You're not allowed anywhere near Notre Dame Stadium on
No.
Saturday.
No.
Bad.
No.
He's 0-1 at Notre Dame Stadium. He was at that Stanford game. He's not allowed anywhere near it.
Miserable experience that day at Notre Dame Stadium. We have 24.5 minutes left in this show to get through these games. Notre Dame plus 3.5 is my pick in this one.
Yeah, I'm taking the money line.
Okay. Ohio State minus 38 at Northwestern. I'm not going to give this much of a stamp of rejection like I gave to Cincinnati and Navy, because Ohio State has been pretty good at putting up a lot of points this year. Again, we've been riding these Ohio State overs all season. Northwestern, can they get you a couple of touchdowns there to get you to that 56.5? I think they probably can. Northwestern's really bad, though. Really bad.
You got to love when the sports books aren't even putting out a money line. They're like, yeah. You don't even want to bet Northwestern in this one.
Yeah.
No money line either way.
No money line available for this game here between Ohio State and Northwestern. Ohio State minus 38 in this game. I would take Ohio State. I would also take the over in this game. If you're picking between the two, I would take Northwestern.
When you bet a game with a spread this big, at what point do you feel comfortable, right? I mean, like, it's in the second quarter, you're up 24-0. Do you feel comfortable then?
No.
Right.
You don't feel comfortable in this game
until you surpass 38.
Unless it's like 50-something.
Right.
Yeah.
Until you surpass 38, you don't feel good about this bet.
Yeah, no, not at all. Okay, Kentucky and Missouri. You and I have been all over the Kentucky train all year.
Will Levis looked real good last week.
And they got exposed. They got blown out at Neyland Stadium against Tennessee. That game was never in question. Kentucky missed that extra point early, and it was all downhill from there. A blowout for Tennessee. I hate to say that Missouri might be the play here at home.
I'm going to... a lot of people are in on Missouri. They played Georgia very well. I like a bounce-back week from Kentucky. I know they go to Missouri. I like them on the money line. So one interesting thing that I actually saw on DraftKings Sportsbook is this is a pick'em game, 1 point either way. Kentucky is actually the dog in that pick'em, so plus 1 point. If you take the money line, Kentucky is the favorite on the money line. So they're the 1 point dog at the spread, but they are the favorite on the money line. Also, if you take Missouri's money line, you get even money. If you take them -1, you have to pay juice. So you actually get better odds taking them straight up as opposed to them taking 1 point. Just something weird in DraftKings algorithm right now.
Yeah, between the two of them, man.
I'm taking Kentucky.
Yeah, it's hard for me to back down off of how much we've talked up Will Levis and this Kentucky team all season. But, man, did they look not good last week against Kentucky. The bigger question there would be, is that more of a statement about Kentucky or Tennessee?
Right.
I mean, that's the question. Is that more of a Tennessee is good, or is that more of a Kentucky is bad question?
Listen, Will Levis is going to be a first-round draft pick. I've seen him play 2 games now, and that was enough. I liked the way he was throwing the ball. He had 98 yards, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns this week. He's going to bounce against Missouri. Take Kentucky here.
All right. Christopher Columbus in the chat says Devontae Smith plus 180 to score a touchdown tonight in the Thursday night football game.
Devontae Smith, he's only scored, I think, twice this year. In the Thursday night football, I actually like, I was looking it up. I think I like Dameon Pierce to score tonight for the Texans.
Okay.
He scored 7 touchdowns this year.
All right. Casey, do we have Mike in here yet?
He joined and then he left.
Oh, no. All right. I'll shoot him a text. Tonight, the Thursday night football matchup. what is it about Thursday night football this year?
Well, we've had, 2 good games, and then the rest have been terrible. That used to always be the trash can of the primetime games.
Yeah.
Because they didn't. Honestly, I think did teams used to get a veto on Thursday night games?
Ooh, that's a good point. I don't know. They might have.
Because they don't want to play. I mean, coaches prefer to have more time to rest and to prepare for a game. So it is a quick turnaround. But for some reason, they've been bad. And, it's interesting tonight. It's Houston versus Texas, both in the World Series and in Thursday night football. All eyes are going to be on the World Series, right? I mean, this game is not going to be a good game. In those 2 cities.
Eagles-Texans?
Yeah.
The people in Philadelphia will be watching the Phillies.
Yeah. And the people in Houston will be watching the Astros.
Yeah.
So those 2 cities will have better ratings for baseball than they will for football. Every other city in the country might have better ratings for
I mean, this is
football.
a disaster of a matchup for Am I allowed to say that it's a disaster of a matchup for the NFL because we've talked so much and you guys talked about it on Box Lunch yesterday? It's a no-brainer that the NFL doesn't matter. The NFL outweighs everything in ratings, especially baseball.
Sure. Stop worrying about it. If you're baseball, why worry about it?
But this is the one game. This is the one game
where baseball's
where
going to get the edge.
Could
because it's a 14-point
it has
spread.
a chance. It's a game that's being streamed. It's a whatever it is, 14-point spread. It's a bad team against a really good team, and both cities have a team in the World Series at the same night, which, by the way, is a 2-2 series.
Yeah, it's Game 5.
Our Houston Astros threw a no-hitter last night.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Our Astros look good.
Our Astros look great.
Ooh, did you see that DraftKings boost? I sent it to you. So DraftKings did a special last night.
Yes.
It was called the Philly Special, and it was the 76ers played, and then the Phillies obviously played. The draft boost was 19.5 was the line for the 76ers and the Phillies to combine 3-pointers and hits. So they had to get 23 pointers and hits combined. The 76ers hit 19 3-pointers. So the Phillies just had to muster up 1 hit. They didn't get it. The boost loss.
How does that – it's funny because you were looking back at some of those boosts that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. That 2 or 3 weeks ago was the Justin Herbert one that everybody got pissed about on Monday Night Football.
It's rigged.
I happily was a part of that. But look 2 nights later, you get it back because
Kevin
Durant scored
Correct.
20 points in the first half. It was 20 points for the whole game. He scored 20 in the first half. You get it right back. In the long run, those bets pay off.
Sure.
Look, anytime you're going to be given minus 800, minus 1,000, minus 600, anytime you're going to be given one of those at even odds, you max that out. Every single time you max it out. Because the problem is
free money, right? They're giving you an edge.
They're giving you an edge.
Giving you value.
What they want you to do is take that bet and then take the money that you win and just put it right back into the ecosystem.
They're trying to get you as a customer.
Yeah. And a lot of times it works.
Are you betting either one of the games tonight? Thursday night football or baseball?
So I have a very, very busy evening tonight. College basketball right around the corner, so I'm doing a bunch of preview work for college basketball tonight till about 11 o'clock. So I'll be lucky to catch maybe the back half of maybe like the tail end, the ninth inning, the last couple outs of tonight's no-hitter for the Astros. That Justin Verlander's a shoe-in in the World Series.
All right, so I think with the 2 games, Philly-Houston, this gives you an opportunity for the anti-Philly special. Bet on both Houston teams. The Texans to cover 14 points, 2 touchdowns. And you take the Astros 1.5 run line. Verlander's got to figure it out. And Noah Syndergaard isn't the same pitcher. I think he strikes out 6 batters every 9 innings. That's his average. So he just doesn't have the stuff. If this game was played back in 2016 between Verlander and Noah Syndergaard, it'd be a lot more exciting. But Verlander is going to be the shoo-in for the AL Cy Young. He's got to play well tonight in Philadelphia. Give me the anti-Philly special. Parlay those.
Wow.
Texans, Astros, their spread, their run line. I think you get about 3-1 odds plus 300. Give me that.
The anti-Philly special.
The anti-Philly
Do you have
special.
something against Philly?
Well, they threw snowballs at Santa Claus, so that's kind of
Philly. The Astros minus 1.5.
Yep.
And the Texans plus 13.5 is.
I would like to get it at 14, but yeah, I think we got Mike.
It is plus 310. Okay, we're gonna bring in Mike Schmaltz here. Now we have 15 minutes and 36 seconds left in this show. Mike, can you hear us?
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Mike, you sound great.
You sound great.
You sound so good, Mike.
So good, Mike.
Big technological win here. Big.
What did you do? What did you do? How did you fix it?
Well, I think the adapter updated, right? So remember I told you that yesterday, the adapter updated, so maybe that was it. It was a little software situation.
You sound fantastic. This is the best you've sounded in weeks.
Yeah. Luckily, I don't look any better. But
no, you look great.
You put the button down on for us. You look great.
You look
Mike.
better in purple.
We're good.
All right, we're under 15 minutes here. We're on a countdown clock. So let's hear the pick.
All right, I'll try not to drone on. All right, I like your Astros pick tonight because it's the bullpen game for Philadelphia, right? So Syndergaard hasn't gone that many innings lately. I also like Bregman 210 to get a hit, minus 210 to get a hit.
You were right on Bregman last.
Yeah, you were right on with Bregman.
Right? The old pair of shoes, you go back there, you just get a guy.
Got reliable.
Okay. Let's go to tonight's football game. Philadelphia and the beautiful Texans. Texans are terrible on defense. Absolutely terrible. They're terrible against the rush.
They stink.
Second against the rush. So let's take Miles Sanders for an anytime touchdown, minus 120. And we'll go 115 over 78.5 yards. Although I did hear this projection today. If he does have a big game, he might not even play into the fourth quarter because they think it's going to be an absolute destruction for the Texans.
As long as it's within 2 touchdowns.
Within 2 touchdowns, though.
You want to keep the 2 touchdowns? I think Davis Mills is good for less than 218 passing yards, too, because Crooks isn't going to play, probably. Right? So Davis Mills, bad night for him. Okay? We're good on that?
4 picks so far.
All right.
I'm keeping a track.
Wait, we're at 4 picks?
Okay. Since Maxon is now out of my purview because now we're playing on Tuesday and Wednesday, it's kind of disappointing.
All right, congratulations to your Bobcats,
Roll
Mike.
Let's go. Bobcats. They're in first place in the division.
He's a Bobcat.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go. We're dropping dimes out there. That Rourke kid's pretty good, the quarterback.
Yeah.
Canadian. He's going to play well in the Canadian Football League when he's done with the MAC.
He's the next Zach Caleros.
Absolutely. Perfect comparison. All right, let's go to Saturday. I've got Navy is plus 19.5 against the Bearcats. Right?
You love the triple.
I'm taking Navy. It's minus 110. Navy's got the best rush defense in the conference. They only give up 92 yards a game. They've got the best rush offense, 244 a game. And if Navy gets the ball, they keep the ball. So there's limited possessions for the opposition. I think Navy covers the 19.5. What do you think of that?
Mike, I think the Battle of Midway walked so that they could win this game on Saturday. So this game could run.
You think Navy just wins outright?
No.
You know what? You know. I spent 5 minutes opening this show, enlightening our audience to stay away from betting this game because of how boring it was going to be. And you come in here convincing everybody the other way. And now I think I have to concede to you.
I didn't say it was going to be exciting. We're trying to win some money here, right?
All right.
Oh, yeah, that's what we're doing.
All right. You're the
Mike,
guest.
you win a lot. You win a lot.
You do win us a lot of money, so look.
Well, I kind of got smoked a little bit last week. But, it happens. All right, here we go.
5
Bengals.
picks.
Your Bengals, right?
Your Bengals.
Your Bengals.
Your Bengals. Our Bengals. There's some pretty good numbers out here for the Bengals. I think minus 115, Joe Burrow, over 262 passing yards, right? So he just threw for 232, and they were terrible. Boyd and Higgins for an anytime touchdown. Boyd's plus 120. Higgins is plus 110.
I like T. Higgins in that. I really do. I like T. Higgins.
Let's throw down. Let's get on that.
All right.
Date. Breeders' Cup Classic. This is fantastic. Tabor. These the horse. 8-1. This is the hardest horse race in the world to bet because it's the best horses, right? But you get Bob Baffert and Mike Smith at 8-1. It's not the favorite. The favorite's 3-5 called Flightline. But they think this Taba's going to win in the top 2. And it's the, I think, Swahili word for prosperous or talented. So let's go with Taba. 8-1. Bob Baffert wins stuff, right? Throw that
to win?
down.
To win outright?
Well, no, I don't think you win. I think you take a unit, bet it across the board, and you're going to win some money. Whether that unit's $100, $50, whatever it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Since we're on the clock, we're going to move on. This is the last race for NASCAR, right?
Last one.
Yeah, we actually before
pressure with the clock.
before you give the pick, we do have somebody in the chat right now that was asking who's going to win the NASCAR championship this weekend, and I know that's what you're about to talk about. But the other thing, before you get into that, give us like a 1-minute breakdown, because you are, and this is all jokes aside, you actually are a big NASCAR guy. You worked in it for a long time. You worked at the Speedway. You're in this more than a lot of people are. Just walk us through that race last week and how crazy what Ross Chastain did was.
Well, that's kind of absolutely unheard of. So they called it the video game move. So he just needed to pick up, 2 spots or a spot to get into this last race to be eligible for the championship. So the top 4 make the championship, right? He needed points. And he just gunned it, and he used the wall to keep his car on the track. So if you think about going around a turn in a traffic circle, your car kind of shifts and goes out. It'll shift when you turn the other direction. He just plowed it and used the wall to keep his car on the track, and he ended up making the spot he needed to get in, which is unbelievable. I think eventually they're going to outlaw that. They're going to say that you can't do that anymore, but right now it's within the rules. So Ross Chastain sold out, and he got his car into the championship hunt.
You're doing something right when they have to change the rules because it's that big of an advantage.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of code things to where you probably don't want to do that every week, right? But
right.
When
you got nothing to lose.
Now you got a shot at the championship. And they've been running very well. They've been racing well. So he's got a chance.
Who we got?
All right, I've really in this championship 4, there's a group bet in those top 4, and they're all in the plus side. So Chase Elliott is plus 500, Artie's plus 200, Bell's plus 260, Chase Elliott's 200, and Joey Logano is plus 330. So if you go with recent performance, Ross Chastain's got the best record in the last couple races. But I like Joey Logano's crew chief better. It's Paul Wolfe. He won a championship with Brad Keselowski. The guy makes things happen when he needs to. So if they're running bad, he's going to take a shot at moving Joey Logano up in the field. It could be a short pit. It could be some type of strategy. And he's going to give Joey Logano a chance. Logano's had 3 weeks to work on the car. The other guys haven't because they didn't know if they were in it. I think Joey Logano's going to win it, and that's plus 330, so that's some pretty good money. So, again, they don't have to win the race. They just have to beat the other 3.
Right.
All right.
Just got to finish ahead.
Is there any
Joey.
Is there any free
gas? Free gas. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, let's go.
Free gas.
It was $82 for me to fill up the other day.
Listen,
$82.
They perfected travel with the 2010 Silverado 1500, and that thing just guzzles gas. They could have done a little better on the gas mileage. Maybe it's not perfected.
It's fantastic. Hey, Chevrolet, like a rock, right?
Like a rock.
Joey drives a Ford, though, so we want to be built Ford tough this weekend.
Mike, what do you drive?
I've got a Subaru Impreza that has 205,000 miles on it. Now, we've got to rebuild it every once in a while, just put a few more parts and pieces in it, but it's hanging in there.
Subaru's
it's
reliable.
Scrappy. Like Ross Chastain at Martins Village.
Right, there it is.
Right.
Mike peppered in 10 picks in about 5 minutes.
Yeah. You came in, beat the clock, and got out.
Trying to respect the clock. A little guerrilla warfare. Just drop some bombs and let's get out of here.
Right. Love it. Love it.
Mike, you're the man. Best segment of the week. I love it. I appreciate it. And I'll see you tonight.
Thanks, guys.
All right. See you, Mike.
See you, Mike. He's great.
He is
10
the
picks.
best.
10 picks. We got to keep numbers on Mike and how his all 10 picks do.
Yeah.
So we got to list them out, and we'll put it out on our socials how well all 10 of his picks do.
I think the best thing that I like about Mike's segment is he's not afraid to go out there and take a shot at like a plus 300.
No.
I mean, he mixed in the Breeders' Cup there.
Right. Yeah.
The Breeders' Cup.
Yeah.
I won't lie to you guys. I tried to write down all of his picks. I couldn't keep up. He was just rapid firing.
So I heard you typing over here the whole time. I heard the keyboard just smacking away, and I was like, is Casey really trying to keep up with these picks?
It's impossible.
And then about halfway through the segment, it just got quiet. And I go, yeah, he flew the white flag.
Put that on your resume if you could keep up, like can keep up with Mike's picks.
Absolutely.
Typewriting pro.
Okay, Sean Spurlock, one of the co-founders of Chatterbox Sports. Another news segment. All we've done for the last 2 weeks is
keep peppering them in there.
Just news segments on this show, left and right. Monday Misery, Monday Miracles, Mike's segment. We have the chat picks. We have all this stuff going on.
Innovation.
Now we have the Spur Lock.
So let me give you a little background on the Spur Lock. Sean Spurlock, one of our co-founders here at Chatterbox, we're talking over the weekend, Me and Trace are drowning in debt. We owe so much money because we just keep losing bets left and right. We're talking about, I can't believe this bet lost. I can't believe this bet lost. And next thing we know, Spurlock goes, 7-1 on this Saturday. And we said, what? Where are you keeping these picks at? Like, we're floundering over there. We need to put our swimmies on. We're drowning in so much. And Spurlock's just 7-1. So the Spurlock of the weekend is Maryland +5 on Saturday. We got to get Spur on the show to explain his lock at some point another time. We're under 5 minutes to go, but there he goes. Spurlock, Maryland +5.
The under 5 minute mark now in this show. Let's take a look at a quick look at the chat for a chat pick. We have eight. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, is Casey start hamster wheeling your pick.
True. Yeah, we need to pick
figure
from
one out.
you.
We're gonna talk to the chat.
My prop, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, you can do whatever you want. You can pick a line. You can pick a total. You can do whatever you want. The chat right now: Devontae Smith +180, AJ Brown anytime touchdown score, that's +110. Phillies +1.5 from Sir Boy Wonder. We got some numbers watching right now. If you have a pick, if you have a game that you like, if you have something that you're looking for this weekend, get them to us, and we'll see whatever we get the most suggestion for.
Right.
We'll take.
So I was looking at the touchdown scores tonight because I wanted to pick one just to score a touchdown. A.J. Brown, he scored a lot. He scored 3 last weekend. So I don't know. Maybe it's just the law of averages where I think that it might be a stretch to think that he's going to get back in the end zone this weekend. I know they're playing a bad team, so he's the number one target, so it seems likely. I don't know. Just don't feel good about it. Devontae Smith has only scored twice this year. Another reason I don't feel good about it. I think the Texans, if I'm going to bet the Texans to cover, they're going to get in the end zone at some point, and I think Dameon Pierce is going to be that guy that gets in the end zone.
Okay.
He scored 7 touchdowns this year, 4 receiving, 3 rushing. So give me Dameon Pierce to get in the end zone at some point. He's plus, I think I had him at +125, so you're getting plus money there. Give me Dameon Pierce.
Weren't we on Dameon Pierce for something else? Haven't we bet on him before?
Has he been in a primetime game?
I thought we had something on Dameon Pierce, but maybe not. I could be wrong. I see Casey with a grin on his face over
Casey,
here.
what do you got for us?
A mile wide.
I'm not ready yet.
Okay, so another pick, and I know
Casey, just you have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'm good.
Briefly, we talked about the Bengals game. I don't know if I'm going to bet the Bengals either way, but I really, really, really like T. Higgins to score, +110. Bengals bounce back week. He's going to, Joe Mixon's been struggling to no end. So the most likely guy that's going to get in that end zone is T. Higgins. We saw the play he made against the Browns. He's going to be the number 1 receiver for the Bengals. Give me T. Higgins to score at +110.
Look, the Bengals have to win this week. There's no two ways about it. You can't go under 500 against a team that's 2-6 right now. The Bengals have to win this week. They know it. It's at home. What do you do if you're going to win this game? You have to go out there and find guys that can make plays. You saw T. Higgins on Monday night. You got to go out there and just get after guys that can catch the football, plain and simple. You're not going to go out there and have a ton of success throwing over and over and over to running backs. You got to throw the ball to your wide receiver. And Reed, say it again for me.
What, T. Higgins? +110.
P. Ryan and Mixon, their catches on Sunday.
Were the two top receivers. Joe Mixon caught the ball 7 times. Joe Burrow just looked incredibly uncomfortable, was trying to make something work with a quick pocket, was just dumping it off, reminiscent of like what Andy Dalton would do back in the day.
We are less than 2 minutes to go.
Casey, what do you got for us?
This is our last show before college basketball starts.
Warning.
Before Casey gives his pick, again, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all those spots. Live on Mondays at 1, Thursdays at noon, right after Tom's show ends. On Monday, it's after the box lunch. Box lunch live tomorrow at 10 a.m.
It's a bad bet, Christopher Columbus.
Casey,
listen,
we need your bet, and now we need the chat.
I'm actually going to parlay. I'm doing 2 at the same time here. 2 props.
It is a parlay.
Joe Burrow over 2 touchdowns. It's 1.5. And P.J. Walker over a touchdown, passing touchdown.
He's got to get 1 or he's got to get 2? So
PJ
Joe has to throw 3.
No. Joe has to throw 2.
Okay.
Joe has to throw 2, and P.J. has to throw 1.
He's parlaying them together?
Yeah.
What's the odds?
Well, let's see here. The odds are...
Oh, my God. We're under a minute, Casey.
It doesn't give me the odds.
Oh,
but
no.
the odds is -215 for Joe, and PJ is 240. -240.
Oh, no. All right.
So we got to figure this out.
All right, we have 40 seconds. We have
Passing
40
props.
seconds.
Here we go.
I will give the chat pick. I'm going to say the Phillies +1.5. Phillies plus 1.5 is the chat pick tonight.
You got even money on your prop. On your
Plus
same
100.
Game. Plus 100. Even money.
All right.
Sure, we'll take it.
Sure. Plus 100. Joe Burrow, 2+ touchdowns. PJ Walker to throw 1 touchdown.
The Spurlocks plus 5.
The Spurlock is Maryland plus 5. Mike gave us 10 picks, including the Breeders' Cup. We have 10 seconds. Read.
The local parlay is plus 1,600 if you take everyone on their spread, and then you take Kentucky money line.
All right. That's it. Thanks for watching.